Hello, everybody, and welcome back to DBD League. My name is Metal Bro, but you can all call me Rob. And today I will be your host on the final matches of the Iridescent division of Season 11. And I am looking forward to this as we enter the grand finals here between Elysium and X9, two Titan teams who've fought very hard to get all the way to the grand finals. But, ladies and gentlemen, I am not alone on the desks today. I am joined by my analysts here, Richie Witchy and Arya Rakia. Let me start with you, Rich. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing amazing, Rob. I'm just always excited for grands, and this matchup in particular is very swingy, and I'm excited to see if they maintain that or if one team can kind of break serve.
All right, all right. Good to hear. And then Arya, how are you doing today?
Very well as well. I mean, yeah, like Rich said, it's very swingy. These teams have been fairly evenly matched throughout this season. In a way that's interesting to understand, they've both clean swept each other at some point, so I'm just excited to see how this goes.
It's a fantastic thing to point out. I believe it was mentioned earlier that that X9 swept Elysium earlier in the main season, and then it was a reverse sweep from Elysium onto X9 in the playoffs for the finals. So yeah, this is definitely going to be pretty interesting, honestly, and I'm looking forward to it. And quite frankly, like I got to ask some questions here. Rich, is there any predictions? Maybe any thoughts about these sets coming up that might introduce an interesting aspect to this matchup?
Yeah, Rob. I mean, getting into the first set alone, we've got something very interesting, which is, as far as I know, we actually don't have a blight set on record between these two teams. And a couple things are interesting about that. One is I don't think we have somebody on Team Elysium who's necessarily known for their blight gameplay. And on the opposition, X9, they've actually brought in a player just to play the Blight. That's Momo Seventh of pub fame. So I'm really excited to see this matchup because it's just unprecedented. And Momo's results so far in the tournament on Blight have been they've been very solid. You know what you would expect from somebody with such mechanical skill and backed by players who are giving great comms during the games. But I want to see I want to see if Xeno does anything crazy that allows Momo to get some 4K3 action going on today.
That's an excellent point, honestly. Yeah, I mean, Blight definitely going to be a banger to start off with for the night, right? But I got to ask you as well, Arya. Do you find any of these sets to be either like leaning toward Elysium or X9's favor?
When we're talking about a set that I feel like favors a certain team, we have to talk about the Oni. I feel like first off, we actually had just a week ago a set between Ellie and X9 that was on the Oni set. It was Zaka getting a 7 stages, 3 fresh. Cross ping, that's honestly not the result we expect to see too often. Sometimes we might expect to see at least one more fresh hook or at least a few more hooks on the board, maybe not a straight 4K. But it didn't matter because Elysium came in and managed to 4 stage X9's Oni player Angels. So that's a set that I feel like could be certifiably put in favor of Elysium.
Very good, very good. And yeah, I think those are both excellent points from both of you, honestly. And I'm looking forward to seeing these things come into action here soon. But really quick, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and talk about the sets we have coming up tonight. We will be starting off, like Rich mentioned, with the Blight on Suffocation Pit 1. This is X9's pick, so X9 will be killing first. We'll be moving on after that to Oni on Coal Tower 1 as Elysium's pick. Moving on after that, we have a very interesting set we haven't really seen much of recently. That's going to be the Onryo on Midwich, followed by Lich on Dead Dog Saloon. We actually saw Lich last night on Ormond Lake Mine, but now seeing him on Dead Dog Saloon, it's going to be interesting, honestly. Followed by that, though, we have the Dredge on Midwich, and we are going to be seeing Artist after that on Wrecker's Yard. And staying on Wrecker's Yard for the final set of the evening, the tiebreaker set actually, going to be Spirit on Wrecker's Yard. So, lots of interesting sets. A pretty nice, cavalcade of different varieties of different killers. So this is pretty nice. We've kind of rounded pretty much the edges of almost any type of set you'll see, honestly. We've got a couple of S tiers, couple of M1s, and of course we also have some range as well. So I think that we've kind of rounded out pretty nicely on the set picks today. Now, of course, since we have some more time to kill, I'm gonna ask both of you, Rich and Arya, I've already asked if there's any sets that are particularly leaning towards one side, but I have another question to ask. Is there any of these sets that you find to be one that you enjoy the most? Let's start with you, Arya.
Yeah, I feel like that would have to be the Dredge set, and by extension, I feel like the Onryo set could follow suit. When we're talking about indoor sets in comp, we usually expect something like Ghostface if there's two indoor sets for a matchup. But no, we have Onryo Dredge. Both these matchups are just mechanical. They're teleport-based killers. They're both on mid-witch. Like, I'm just excited to see how both these sets play out because of how differently they can play, yet despite being on the same map and being teleport killers.
It is honestly pretty interesting how similar Onryo and Dredge are when you put them on the same map, right? It feels like a very, very similar set, and I can 100% see that. I mean, I think the results will be ultimately pretty similar, despite how different the killers play. Yet their power both works relatively similarly when it comes to just the big picture of the set, right? Now I got to ask you, Rich. I got to ask the same question. Which of these sets do you really find to be one of your favorite?
Well, Rob, I love any comp DVD set, to be honest. And what I follow just as much, if not more, than the individual killers is the players of those killers. And sorry to be, a repeat of what Arya said, but I'm so excited to watch this Dredge set. I really want to see, in particular, if they're gonna have Ja come in and maybe outperform on the Dredge, because that's actually something we saw just earlier in this season. Is I believe it was Ja able to 4K4 Umbrella on the Dredge Midwich set. So if like Ja is kind of one of those killer players that only comes in for certain sets, and even then, some sets like Freddy or Dracula, usually they don't even have Ja come in. He just comes in, 4K4s really quick, and then dips out. And I'm really excited to see if Ja can put up a performance like that on Dredge today.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Honestly, we don't see Job play too many different killers in competitive DBD, but the ones he does, he's quite good at. Honestly, like we've seen him play Dracula, we've seen him play Spirit. You've said that you've seen him play Dredge. I haven't personally seen him play Dredge, so if we get that today, that'd be kind of a nice treat. Um, but yeah, definitely. I think there's some excellent sets today. It's definitely a lot of opportunities for some really insane moments. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is the grand finals of the Iridescent division of DBD League Season 11. There's bound to be some insane moments today. These two teams quite evenly matched. Some very, very well known, extremely good players on both teams. So I'm very excited to be with you here on these grand finals. We are going to be getting ready to load in here shortly. We've got players on both sides loaded into the lobby. And quickly, before we get into the match, I do also want to make an opportunity to introduce our casters for the evening, who will be casting the live gameplay here. That's going to be Volkas and Outcast Andrew. Let me start with you really quick, Volkas. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much, Rob, for the warm introduction. I am very, very excited to be here today. Of course, this is the epitome of Comp DBD, pretty much. We are here, DBD League Grand Finals, the biggest stage, the biggest piece of history that you could ever write down about this game. And yeah, I could not be more excited.
All right, that's fantastic to hear. And really quick, Outcast Andrew, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hey Rob, how's it going? I'm so excited to be here bringing you the grand finals. I'll be doing the play-by-play with Volkas. The thing that I really like this, I've been saying all season long, is I'm so excited at how many great teams we've had this season. It hasn't been dominated by one team or another team, but at the end of the day, we come down to just two teams left: Elysium versus X9. Elysium winning every game in the playoffs here, and X9 fighting back for a rematch from last week. I'm excited to get going here.
All right, very well said, Andrew. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, you've been introduced to our analysts, you've been introduced to our casters, you've been given the scope of the sets tonight and the teams, of course. So let's go ahead and take it into our first match as we're loading in here. Take it away, Volkas and Andrew.
All right. We are indeed in. We've got Momo on the Blight Suffocation Pit. You know it. You've seen it. Let's see how much they've mastered it. We're doing a little bit of a everything check, and Momo is on his way, crossing his way down to the bottom side of the map near the shack to find the very first rotation, that very first chase. Converts immediately onto Zaka. Converting those rushes straight from traversal onto a hit is so huge for the Blight. That is not the start Zaka wants to see. You want to get rid of all of those 5 rushes to have a chance at a good chase right now. Can Zaka win the 50s here? Can he get to Volta's pallet? No, she cannot, and that is an extremely fast first down. Zeno comes in for the immediate FTP, getting Zaka back on his feet. We do not want to hook this early. Godrock to play around, Momo forced to break, and Zaka makes it all the way back to the shack. And what is going on already?
What an explosive start. I cannot believe that. Using the traversal, we'll always use our dashes to get from the top side to the bottom side of the map, like we saw. In doing so, we happen to catch a sight of Zaka and get that first hit on the last rush. Good stun there by Zaka to stay alive a little longer. The quick down, the quick conversion by Momo then turns into the For the People play. Zeno and Team Elysium definitely knowing they were in a bit of trouble there if we'd had a down and a hook that fast. So unfortunately, we do have another injury on the map, being Zeno, but at least Zaka lasted a little bit longer, using a lot of those bottom side, shack side pallets to get to keep it alive a little bit longer. We're gonna bring this one all the way to the middle of the map. Now, I want to say, in every time we've seen X9 play the Blight, every time we've seen Momo play the Blight, I feel like he's played a very safe game, and by that I mean he tends to be able to very efficiently secure his tunnel out at about 3 to 4 gens done, having 1 gen done, and then getting that 4K, getting the 3 slug down, managing the 3v1 and getting that out. Looking in mid map here, looking for someone. Unfortunately, ends in that little cubby hole in this crooked long wall tile. Momo's been playing very safe. The survivors will know that, though, and the survivors of Elysium will have to know they got to crack these 3 gens before somebody dies. Otherwise, they're going to be in big trouble as the match goes on. This has been explosive. We got a pretty quick, good comms and pretty quick. We're doing a little bit of locker play here. Pretty quick unhook and save there on Zaka. After we had eyes on Momo down the map, we turned back the clock on a couple of those generators and whatnot, and got that save. Zaka allowed to have a pretty decent chase there. It might allow his team to get a gen or 2 done here before we get a couple more of those regression states. First gen pops, second gen's above the pop.
Yeah, Zaka unfortunately didn't really ever have anything to make it to, was stuck around that TNL, and in fact did end up going down for it, and Momo is now in a very commanding position. That is the other generator popped, and that should be pretty much most of Team Elysium's generator progress right now. Funny thing to point out also, we see Ivan on this ace skin that Zeno usually runs, so maybe a bit of tactics there to try to confuse the opponent. Momo finds Zeno, who just gives him the nice filler pallet and is now gone. Momo does definitely not want to use too many rushes on the other side of the map. He wants to be ready to go back for the tunnel out and confirm the very first kill as soon as possible. And on his way to doing that, he is. Zaka being found immediately. Gonna get tagged with only 2 rushes. 4 seconds for Zaka to find something safe to run around. We might need to even see some altruism. We know Tech has the deliverance readied up. Zeno being here again to try to help out his teammate. Do we make this medium vault? Yes, we do. But now it's big problem. Zeno needs to come in from the sideline. Ends up body blocking Zaka. No FTP coming out again though. But do we make anything? Do we have the distance to make it to this filler? No, we don't. Just barely. Can we play for the pallet save? That would be insane. Not even Zeno would do that. No, I think we just have to let Zaka get picked up now, and that is going to be a relatively very early death. 3 generators still remaining. We see a generator being stacked not too far off from popping, but now the injured Zeno could be in the crosshairs. Momo not interested in going for that, wants to go back to the bottom side of the map, has to turn back the clock, rushes away to try to use it in time, isn't able to do so. That's another gen popping. Zeno can start something on the top side near the main building, while Tech is in chase right now. This is the Deliverance Survivor, so any chase time onto Tech will be quote-unquote free for our survivors here. Ivan undoubtedly gonna be going top also to try to maybe reset or help Zeno with the gen progress. Great conversion by Momo, who opts to slug Tech. I believe he knows that this is the Deliverance Survivor, so now going away, getting more pressure. If he gets a tag on Ivan, we're looking at a very big snowball coming up, and if not, we can get a tag on Zeno, then more problems start to arise regardless. So Momo in a very commanding spot right now.
That was phenomenal. Momo rushing back to the hook and using the second bump. We got a hit on to Zaka to put him into deep wounds. I know that Xeno wound up getting the For the People play, but there's a big difference between picking up someone off the ground with For the People where they're still one tap away and getting a For the People play when they're injured, which I think was maybe the original plan by Elysium. So putting them into deep wounds really allowed. Great job dodging that tree and downing Ivan up here. We got the full reset down the other end of the map on tech. I just want to, I'm still doing replay, let alone play-by-play. Even though Zaka did die, the double up on the bottom side generator gave the survivors a pretty good opportunity. Best opportunity, if any, to get some more gen progress, get some more gens done. They now have a 2-2 split. They have 2 on the bottom side by Shaq, 2 on the top side by Main. One of those top sides is a little bit mid, as you can see here in this middle tile, but really good splitting those 3 gens. Otherwise, we could have been looking at a pretty reasonable 4K2. Now I think the survivors may, if they can get some stuff, some gen progress going here, split the gens. We may be able to see at least one more generator pop, but cracking that generator was really good. We're gonna take chase here on tech. Now keep in mind that first chase with Zaka took up a lot of these bottom side pallets. There were a lot of pallets. Don't get me wrong. Another really strong rock pallet here. There were a lot of pallets, but most of them have been thrown and destroyed. Tech takes a hit on that second rush, and we're gonna go take it over to Shaq. We're trying to play a little bit of edge map here, but that is not gonna be enough. Tech is gonna go down again, as you said, the Deliverance survivor, and we kind of know that. Ivan resetting themselves by this topside generator, and Xeno hanging out. Good stealth by Xeno there to not get spotted for resetting Tech. Unfortunately, Ivan did not get that heal done, and I believe this pallet back here is gone as well. And yeah, Ivan is basically just going to have to loop a tree for a minute before going down. We do, however, have the E, but we wait out the dead hard, and Ivan does not survive longer. We're going to get our second hook here on Ivan. Good try on the dead hard, but great heads up play by Momo to bait it and not allow that chase to continue. Fantastic play by our killer Momo. Momo's been doing great this match.
Absolutely, yeah, what a call out there by Momo. No prior info on who might have the dead heart, instead is able to suss it out from knowing the perks and seeing what is in place. So you can tell Momo's being very attentive, paying full attention here, wants to bring the win for NA on their first set, on their choice set as well. It would be a shame if he didn't get a good result for them, really show what he's made of and show that he is worthy of playing at the highest level. Find Xeno, who can only really make it to the corner map here. Again, as you said, a lot of these bottom side resources have been extinguished right now. We're just playing around the Z wall. If he wins one more 50, I'm going home. No way Xeno can win another one. We cannot extend this anymore. The poor 110 Blight put him out of his misery. Finally, Xeno goes down. And Momo gonna choose to slug this. Very understandable decision here. We want to get a bit more movement getting on the board right now. Ivan healing himself all the way in the main building, being as safe as humanly possible. Another potential, I guess, second tunnel out target being on that hook. You do not want to let yourself stay injured, especially when there is not that much progress on the maps. We have Colubrine to do work, we have Turn Back the Clock, we have Eruption. Momo, smart call out here, looking for somebody in the locker. Ivan was healing nearby. Maybe he was expecting an inner strength there from Ivan, and maybe he could have even stayed in the locker afterwards. Alas, does not find him. Gonna be taking these bumps all the way back to the bottom side to find the pickup on Xeno, which should be pretty timely. Yes, the reset is actually coming out immediately. We're able to get the reset edge map. However, now both Xeno and Tech kind of trapped for a little bit. Tech vaults into Momo to try to take a better hit, has the overcome, but again, just nothing left here but edge map to play around. Needs to fully bamboozle him right now, and he's able to do so. Tech with the juke, buying precious time. Can he make the window? Yes, he can, playing the short side Shack window filler, 50 even. Is he able to buy even more time? No, I think now the moment Momo has rushes back, yeah, immediately going for the locker juke. Not much else to do, just straight up forcing the locker, forcing the pick on the deli, and all of that again was completely free time for the Elysium survivor side. So Momo actually deciding to slug Tech, but committing him in the first place over Xeno might have been a mistake, knowing that he is the Deliverance. But again, more pressure is more pressure, and I believe Tech still has the Unbreakable. We have not used it. Xeno has been there to pick him up every time he went down, like the hero he is. So now Momo still has work, and Xeno, we still are not using this Unbreakable. We're coming in for the pickup, and Tech is up again with the Deliverance in the back pocket. Ivan stealthing beautifully, needs to not get found here.
Yeah, Xeno, by the way, that edge map, Vault Xeno abusing the resilience, by the way. I had to throw it out there. Barely making that Z-wall edge map Vault, and I had to go and check and see, and he is, in fact, the resilience user, which makes sense being on the For the People player. You get to, you're the one, if anyone, that chooses to be injured. So resilience for a little bit extra chase and generator advantage. Speaking of Xeno, injured Xeno here. This pretty weak pallet, although against the 4.4 of the Blight, does manage to get that stun. Well played by Xeno. This pallet was thrown but not destroyed, so we got a little bit longer to go here. I didn't manage to hear how much gen progress is down the other side. Oh my goodness! We could have swung on Xeno, but we didn't, and now we swing on Xeno. We get the eruption off, and we can see the aura of, I believe, Ivan sticking that generator down by main building, and now you see him run off, and this is the benefit of the eruption proc. Eruption not only starts regressing the generator, but we know where our Death Hook survivor has run to. Can we convert and get this second tunnel out, put it down to a 2v1, pretty much ending Elysium's chances of getting another generator done? Momo chasing Ivan in the main building. We still have this main building rock filler in the back. It's a little bit awkward to play for the Blight. There's a lot of weird angles and sort of jutting out rocks and trees and whatnot. And in fact, yes, Ivan plays it well, manages to get the vault. We get the break on the pallet. Ivan's going to run through main and get to that main window. Listening here, this generator is about 75%. We're going to reapply eruption. I was a little bit surprised that I understand we wanted to keep control of the map and whatnot, but when we got when we got Tech back at main building, I was a little surprised we didn't just take Delhi off the map. I know that you still got to worry about eruption and whatnot, but you could have hooked. You could have got to turn back the clock proc. So I was a little bit surprised Momo did that after forcing the locker pull, but you know what? It is what it is. Momo is committed to, I'm not going to get Delhi. Delhi ain't happening. We're doing a little bit of bumps here on Xeno. Xeno, very heads-up plays with these vaults. We go for a very ambitious flick, but it doesn't quite connect with Xeno. That's lasting a little bit longer. Those explosions on your screen are the Call of Brine procs. Call of Brine, of course, when you hit a good skill check, is going to give you an explosion, and they get the generator by main done. Xeno goes down, eruption goes off. You can see on your HUD that takes text gen down to about 60%, so that is not in danger of getting broken now. Momo not confident though, coming down, trying to see if we can stop this generator from popping. And Tech, once again, Tech is just like, come on, man, hook me. You're in basement now. Don't slug me again, hook me. And we'll see if he actually goes for that basement hook. We're getting the pickup here on Xeno, and no, we are still committed to the bit. Tech gets more tummy time. Tech on the slug in the basement. Gonna have to crawl out of basement this time to get reset by Xeno, I would imagine. Ivan probably gonna start pressuring that generator down by the logs. Really good job by the survivors so far to keep the pressure on. Again, I feel like Momo might have just taken Tech's hook at some point, but I pretty much wants to force somebody to come pick up. I don't think Momo is even aware that Tech has an Unbreakable in the tank still, because he's been slugged so many times. You would imagine either he doesn't have it or he's already used it. But no, Tech can pick himself up one time at any time he wants, and we'll see if we'll see how long we hold on to that, because once again, we're picking up Tech.
Yeah, Tech being picked up one more time. It almost makes me wonder if the Unbreakable was used, and I just didn't notice. I feel like somebody was healing him every time, but not certain. Ivan using the Dramaturgy. Gets exposed, but doesn't get hit with the M1. Oh my god, wow. If Ivan went down there, that would have been the game dead in the water. Still exposed though, and Momo knows it. He knows what happened from that. We have the Ormontal to play with. This is a bad time to be exposed. The exposed has run out, thankfully. Ivan gonna get this blind. No Champion of Light to slow the Blight down. And Ivan, he seems to be heading back towards the shack, maybe trying to force a basement pull. No, not still in exhaustion, so no chance to go for the Dead Heart. Xeno coming in from the sidelines here, threatening some sort of altruistic play. Needs to pick up Tech in the meantime, though, if we're going to have any chance of doing something. And the 2v1 should just be the end game here. There should be nothing else our survivors can do to pop another generator. So it's very much looking like a 4K1. Tech once again on the sidelines, gonna get slugged once more. Almost a full bleed out being threatened onto Tech, which, forgive me, I don't think we've seen a full bleed out yet, so it would be funny if it happened right now. Xeno coming in, maybe we're baiting for the fact that Tech has Unbreakable. Maybe this is the master plan from Xeno, who's just holding the pallet, but no, never mind, there is no master plan. Oh, Momo is unable to convert that one, but that's going to be one more M1 to take us into the 4K1 result. And I have to say, I am so impressed by Elysium. Their reset rotations were so clean and on point all the time. Momo was getting so much pressure, but he was being denied it back and forth. Always somebody there to reset. Ivan resetting himself. Xeno and Tech resetting each other after a pickup. So many times this happened, and it really denied Momo a lot of potential pressure and the potential 4K2. If we were keeping these injuries off board and greeding for the extra gen progress, we will for sure be in a much worse spot. But now Tech finally going to be getting hooked. He's going to see a hook for the first time in his life. He might be in a bit of an unfamiliar environment, but it's okay. He will manage. And yeah, 4K1, bang on, average to good result for sure. And it will be interesting to see what the killer side for Elysium can do, as this is of course X9's pick, so they kind of expect to win, and they did bring out Momo for it, so it will be interesting to see. So Rob, take us away.
Absolutely, thank you very much for that, Volkas and Andrew. And yeah, let's talk about that, because this game was definitely quite something. I mean, I'd like to say that like Momo's come a long way with his Blight gameplay, right? I mean, there's a lot of things to really talk about, but I think that Rich, I'd like you to kind of talk about how Momo kind of handled this game from the killer side.
Rob, I'll at least talk about the first half of that game from Momo's perspective, because he truly was the main character there. I mean, pretty much zero mistakes. He was winning every chase. And when we're talking about winning, we just mean like the chases were certainly favoring him, and that's why we were in a position for Momo to get a 4K2 at some point. And that was for several minutes until Zaka was out of the game. I don't think Momo really missed a single key rush. Got multiple conversions, which is where you kind of start a Blight rush without the intention of hitting somebody, but actually end it with damage. And yeah, Momo, I gotta say, played perfectly for at least the first half of that game. But Arya, it kind of turned around the second half. They made an insane 3v1 comeback.
Yeah,
Very
we had
true,
this
very true.
split. My bad. Sorry, we had this split top side and bottom side between the survivors. For the tunnel out, we had Zaka dead at 3 gens. I mean, usually in a Blight set, that would be like game ending. That would be a situation where the survivors are in a 3v1, 3 gens left, 4K2s all but guaranteed. But the important thing is Yvonne and Tech doubled out that bottom side 3 gen and managed to pop it in Momo's face through the turn back the clock because of Blight fatigue. So that kind of made the like endgame possible. And then we had the survivors splitting top and bottom, and Yvonne just had some amazing 3v1 chases at the top side around the main building with a lot of the weaker fillers there. And if Yvonne went down once during that, or even got tagged, that was going to put Ellie in a really rough spot. They were going to have to rotate, get him healed because of him being Death Hook in the 3v1. So the 3v1 chases topside from Yvonne really made that possible.
Yeah, very true, very true. I mean, like, there's some pretty notable topics to talk about with this match from both sides, right? Like with Momo's Blight gameplay, the tunnel out being pretty much perfect, right? Yvonne's chases in the 3v1 making it almost doable to pop the last gen. The early FTP play on the early down. There's a lot of things that can really be considered for like one of the most notable things to talk about for this game, right? I mean, if there's anything, honestly, really, Rich, I gotta ask you, is there anything really that you feel like needs to be mentioned and needs to be talked about that happened in this match that is a key point of the match?
So I think I'd be remiss, Rob, if I didn't mention Xeno's play in that game, because it's something that we are likely going to see for the rest of the day, and we're first to 4 with a Joker set. We're gearing in for a long day here. Xeno really showed the type of player he is in the first 40 seconds of that game. That immediate FTP play that you and Arya both mentioned. Just really showed the aggression of Xeno, and later in that game we saw the same kind of play not work out quite as well. Xeno's very much a high risk, high reward type of player, has some level of main character energy, and that can drastically influence the way that these sets go. And I'm very excited to see, and that's really why Xeno is here, kind of competing for the back-to-back main DBD League season title. So if we see more of those plays from Xeno and they actually work out like they did early in that game, we're going to see good things here for Elysium.
Very well said, Rich. Very well said. So, my question to you, Arya, is we've seen Momo post these kind of results before, right? This is a pretty I'd say average result for Momo. Not a bad result at all. Especially considering that it was bordering a 4K2 had Yvonne not had some of these really insane chases in 3v1. Do you think that this is a doable win condition for X9 against Elysium's Blight, that being Xeno?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it was mentioned in the pregame. Basically, we have Momo on the side for X9, being a Blight main, being kind of like a specialist. Elysium doesn't quite have that. We have Xeno playing Blight, and Xeno, he has a lot of experience on that killer, but it's also not one that he is particularly known for. It's not one of the killers that you bring up and think, oh yeah, Xeno, that's one of our top players in DBDL. He's able to get serviceable win cons for his team, but against a survivor roster like X9 that has practiced this set over and over, they've put up good results this season against it. I would hesitate to assume that Xeno is going to match this Tycon at least. I would almost put my money on the fact that yes, X9 most likely will be able to pop all 5 generators and secure this win condition. It is going to depend on a lot of things, of course. We had a very early tunnel out from the side of Elysium this past game, and they kind of need to avoid that. Of course, X9 could pull off the insane 3v1, but I feel like that's something... I feel like X9 plays a lot better coordinated in the 4v1. When they have all 4 survivors up, they're able to make a lot of the bigger plays happen. I feel like once it comes down to 3v1, they're in a bit of a worse position than we saw Elysium in last game.
Yeah, that's a really good point, honestly, and I can completely agree with that, honestly. I mean, and that's credit to the fact that most of the time X9 is usually able to carry 4 survivors to the end game, right? So and that's where we see like a lot of their best moments is their ability to carry the end game with all 4 survivors still alive and make some really some really good plays. And then in the 3v1, I think that sometimes it really becomes like a bit of a bit of like a an issue that they haven't really foreseen. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that kind of contribute to that kind of huge change between 4v1 and 3v1, but that is definitely a good point. And we did see them pop all 5 against Umbrella's Blight player, that being James, previously known as Grenout, who was a pretty solid Blight player, I would say. So I think it's really doable against Xeno's Blight as well. So that's a very good point. Just for the sake of killing time here, I do have to ask you the same question, Rich. Do you think this win condition is doable for X9?
Yeah, I think it's certainly doable for X9, especially with the kind of asterisk over Xeno's Blight. We used to see prior to a bit of a player switch up between Praxis and Elysium, we saw Obi take the Blight on. Obi, one of the best Blight players of all time, of course, for Elysium. And I think this is almost a set that Elysium has been avoiding. They've played Blight 2 times here in the Season 11 DBD League, and to Xeno's credit, I believe it was a 4K1 in both scenarios. So certainly doable on either side. I do think that X9's Survivor side is actually favored in general on the Blight set. So truthfully, I do think that X9 will take it, but I do think it's going to be very close.
Very well said. And one last question, really quick from you, Arya. Do you think that the FTP play in the last game was a big contribution to the win condition?
I would have to agree. I think if the FTP play didn't come out, that tunnel out was doomed to happen way earlier. The first hook would happen before they even got any prog on the gens. And with how fast the tunnel out happened, they needed that early game pressure.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Arya. Very well said. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's pass it over to our casters. Take it away, Volkas and Andrew.
Thank you very much, Rob and company. We are back on the Suffocation Pit. Xeno piloting the Blight for Team Elysium. started on the other end of the map this time. We started down by Shack, so we are running towards main building. No immediate conversion into a hit like we saw last match, but we are looking to sniff out those scratch marks. I think that they continued along towards the edge of the map there, towards the water tower slash, pardon me, log side. But we found some more scratch marks here. Back by this tile. No pallet on that tile there. It's one of those rock tiles that looks like it should have a pallet, but did not spawn with one. And we're going to get our first hit here on Note. Strong pre-drop there by Note on this kind of awkward, like I said, awkward edges on this back pallet. Awkward edges on the back pallet. That tree got in the way of Xeno, but Xeno, calm, cool, and collected in the face of adversity as always, and takes their time. Gets a double back bounce on that tree. Manages to reassess the situation, swing around, and hit Note. We're gonna get a hook exceptionally fast. This is basically as fast as the last down we saw the last match. A little bit slower, but about the same. But this time, no For the People play. We are seeing Note on hook at 5 generators. We're looking around, looking at this gen split here, Volkos. If you look, there are, I believe, a very strong 4-gen up top side of this map. Sorry, it's one is more central, but the top side of this map by main building does have. Never mind. I take it back. That's a very central generator, but we do have a strong 3-gen there with a hook deep in it. Survivors are going to be in a tough position to get Note to the other end of the map so that they can start tackling the 3-gen down by main.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not the ideal gen split that Xeno would like to see. Sometimes you can get a better 4-gen top. However, now we do find Wispy, the Deliverance player, coming in for the unhook. We have to tag him, so we're just going to take the deli trade immediately, it seems. Opting to tag Note, very, very smart, so we can then immediately follow up with our rushes. No needing to wait any extra cooldown. Trying to get the quick conversion onto Note, a bit too ambitious from Xeno. Note has some extra distance now, and we do see, I believe that is Ja rotating. Note realizes that there's no way he can ever make it to the bottom side of the map this easily. We're able to swing through everyone and actually get Note down. Angels and Wispy both here, but no one able to help. No Cracker, no Flashlight to help right there. Ja is, of course, to no one's surprise, the Flashlight player, but he had to rotate back to the other side of the map now. Wispy injured with a Deliverance, starting to this generator right near the unhook. Angels seems to also be kind of stealth for it. Xeno, convinced somebody might be stealthing around this edge map, wants to try to find a savior. That would be a great snowball for Xeno, who is for sure out for blood. He's looking for that 4K2 any chance he can get. It's not an easy result, and it's definitely not one that you are averaged or kind of expect to be owed. But now, Note getting unhooked once again. Does Note have anything to help him? We have the For the People coming out, but we do find Wispy. We get this kick. Just Eruption and Call of Ryan pointing on that generator. Now we need to try to convert, somehow find Note again, and hopefully we can get this tunnel out right now, as popping another gen and just then going into the 3v1 might be difficult momentum-wise for Xeno.
Yeah, I am shocked. Xeno, I mean, I know the For the People play came in on Note, but I am shocked. We see Wispy, who we have to guarantee is the good try there to convert on Angels. We know Wispy is almost guaranteed to be the Deli player, and yet we commit to Deli. We commit to downing Wispy there instead of running back to hook. You notice how Momo has played every single match in this tournament, in these playoffs, constantly getting the 4K1s by going back to hook and getting that tunnel out. But now, Note has survived, been fully healed, and even though the For the People came in, we still knew he was in the corner. We never went back to the corner, and now we've lost our tunnel out, and I think Xeno is in trouble. We managed to get the pickup on Wispy. Angels is injured as well. We're trying to get some bounces here to try and down somebody we can hook. But at the end of the day, I really think that Xeno not going back and finishing off Note, even if it took a 2-tap, is going to spell defeat for Team Elysium in this set. It's obviously not over yet, so we'll continue on and see how this goes. We are pretty much committed at this point to trying to secure the tie. We want to hold this 3-gen down by main building. That 4th gen in the middle is kind of unplayable. Unfortunate situation there. We got kind of cradled between the hook and the rock and didn't get a bounce off, so we just swing through to force fatigue and kick that generator. We see some scratch marks here. All the survivors other than Angels is healthy, I was gonna say, but as the hit comes in on Jaw, Angels gets healed, so we're just trading health states at this point. Angels, sorry, Jaw coming back to the top side. I'm a little bit confused by that. Maybe thinking that they weren't going to make it to the tile there, or actually probably staying away from that middle generator, maybe trying to get some pressure on it. We're going to get a fresh hook here on Jaw. I don't know, Volkus, are we cooked? Are we out of strategically? I think that this was a mistake for Zeno, and I think we're in trouble.
I mean, Zeno at this point, I think the idea was that he realizes the resets are coming down bottom and he doesn't really have the time or freedom of mind, let's say, to actually go back and try to interrupt it. So he's trying to get pressure any way he can, and a down and hook onto Ja is better pressure than absolutely nothing. Is it ideal for Zeno? No, but when you're in a situation with Blight, a killer who absolutely adores going into the 3v1 at high gens and kind of needs that to be able to guarantee the 4K, you can't really 4K the 4v1 versus Blight very easily. It requires a lot of survivor error. Ja now trying to get converted on, but that's not gonna happen. So yeah, Zeno just needed some pressure, but Ja has been healed once again and has the live in play, I believe, still ready to make it. The C filler is very, very awkward to play around with any killer. Call O'Brien notification comes through, so Zeno gonna be heading back to this, wants to stop exactly this. Great zoning from Zeno, needs to stop all the rotations going back from bottom. If they're gonna give something to Zeno, a hit or a conversion or anything like that, they need to at least make sure that they can get onto their dead spot. The only way...
Oh no.
That's tragic, but I feel like the only way X9 is even in danger of being 4K1 here, apart from just straight up giving up node on a silver platter, is if we die up top with these gens without at least being in the mid-map. You can see Wispy nicely stealth next to this 10 filler. Is he going to be able to get the conversion? Yes, he is. Very good observation then by Zeno, but again, Wispy is just going bottom, and if Zeno can't have a very fast chase, he can't actually commit to anything on this side of the map. Another generator pops. We are now at the quote-unquote win condition. If Zeno wants to win this set for his team, he needs to 4K at the current amount of generators remaining, and failing to get that bump is going to cost him for sure. But at this point, I think Zeno needs to try his absolute hardest to play for the 4K1 win condition. 4K2 just isn't in the cards right now, Andrew.
Yeah, again, and this is the problem with being in a 4K. This is the problem with being in a 4v1 at this point in the game, where you haven't managed to tunnel somebody out. You're absolutely right. Angels takes a hit, runs down towards main building, down towards Shack side, I apologize. Runs down towards Shack side, gets reset by somebody down there. I would imagine you've got Note working the furthest generator around and playing Nurse. Not Nurse Killer, Nurse, I'm going to nurse you back to health and get heals off. Note never wants to be spotted again, at least until a little bit later in the match here. So I believe Note is probably the one doing all these resets on Angels, on Jaw down the other end and whatnot. We're going to slug Wispy here. Wispy, we know, is the Deliverance survivor. Still running around, and there goes. We crack that generator. Now we're down to a tie condition, but we know that middle generator is pretty far away. It's not impossible to play these generators, to secure these generators, but at this point, there's just too much gen progress, too many survivors on the map. I don't see a way that Zeno can convert here unless we get a 4-person slug right now. You see scratch marks coming up towards the middle. You can instantly see Note, like I said, playing very safe, flying from the top rope, where Angel sews the pallet, and Zeno breaks it. We're not able to stay on Angels there. Angels going to be able to go get the pickups on the survivors there. There is a world where if we can quickly get Note out of this game, that's not how you do it though. If we can quickly get Note out of this game, there is a world where Zeno can hold these generators, but every second that passes, every heal that comes in, that target is getting further and further away. Wispy just working this generator injured, knowing that the deli is still a threat and that Zeno will likely not pick him up. A little bit of hesitation here on some of these bounces, not quite as clean as we've seen sometimes. Zeno getting a couple accidental bounces that were not mean to, and not the plot twist. The plot twist on Wispy, a true plot twist, true to its name. Wispy will now get a free heal off. Big hit on Jaw there, a free heal off because we don't want that deli. Volkas, what do you do here if you're Zeno? What do you do?
What I do is I get on my knees and pray, honestly, that X9 forgets how to play the video game altogether, because they're in such a commanding position, especially now that Wispy is healed. Ja, the only injured survivor in chase, but again, Zeno just doesn't really have the time to commit to anything. There's too much pressure, there's too many survivors on the map, and we go back to find Angels here, who is the obsession. What is this bump logic? Zeno tries to make something out of nothing, but is unable to do so in the end. Hey, I gotta respect the attempt. But yeah, I mean, at this point, the gen split is not that good, so Xeno is trying to really keep up the back and forth pressure. But a big macro problem that he's facing right now is that they can always just reset. You don't have enough pressure in the 4v1 to where even if you get a quick tag, we can send whoever got tagged by the bottom side of the map, they can get a reset, and that's absolutely fine so long as they can make it there. Wispy is absolutely scared of nothing right now. He can die in the gens if he wants to. He has a deliverance. Of course, it's preferable that he doesn't, but alas, it's just the reality Xeno has to face. Survivors of X9 just have this entire game under control, and it all comes back from not being able to get that tunnel out onto Node, who is being found again and converted on maybe one last chance for Xeno, but he has to just stay nearby and play around his gens. He just doesn't have any room to breathe, and this is exactly how such a high-tier team of survivors can suffocate you, just knowing exactly when to go after injuries happen, and you just realize you can't actually commit to anything. We have now got both generators over 75% progress and nowhere near actually realistically getting it down. We're trying to play for a bit of a gamble here, trying to find Node's rotation back to the gen. Are we able to do so? No. Node kind of noticed it has max distance around this the water tower, and can simply afford to make the next filler, make the next tile. We still have a lot of resources to play around. The last generator is gonna pop, so that is going to be, for sure, X9 going up 1-0 in the grand finals. No Elysium sweep. I am sorry to tell all my Elysium fans. It's not gonna happen again. 1-0 up right now, winning their set, but still carrying the rest of the game out.
Yeah, I got, like, you know, I've got a reputation in Dead by Daylight League where I am the caster that is always screaming at the killers to tunnel, and I'm afraid I'm gonna have to stereotype myself again. The no tunnel out just wound up being too much to face. Note getting healed, and again, we were at the hill. We were chasing Wispy. We were at this hill right here. We could have gone and gone immediately back, and I mean, the first unhook, we got a 2-tap on Note. We could have done that. Unfortunately, as it stands, yeah, X9 is going to take their pick, the Blight. I mean, Momo, again, very consistent throughout the whole tournament. Momo has been very solid 4K1, sometimes a little bit better, but like you can rely on Momo for a 4K1. Really, really well played by the survivors of X9. We're going to be moving on to the next match, but before we do that, let's pass it back to Rob and our analysts. What did you guys think of that match?
Alrighty, thank you very much for that, Andrew and Volkas. And yeah, quite a crazy match there, right? We had a pretty insane result from X9 Survivor side. But ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about a couple things really quick. First of all, starting with you, Arya, I do want to talk about how did that first down really impact the match?
Yeah, I mean, in the first Blight game, we saw a very early first down into the FTP, but the second Blight game, we had a pretty early tag from Xeno. It wasn't quite as early as Momo's, but then we saw Xeno, amazing patience on the Blight. They managed to just stall at the minecart filler against Note and just win in the end. Like, they bumped, I think it was about 3 times at the minecart filler, and just stood there waiting for Note to make a decision and vault. As soon as Note vaults, they get the down very early inside of a decent gen spread. And yeah, that kind of set a good pace for Xeno at the start that unfortunately we just couldn't match going into the mid game.
Very well said. Yeah, I love to hear it. Honestly, that's some great analysis. And from you, Rich, I did want to ask what what really impacted the match the most for me. Honestly, I think you can agree with this, but I'd like you to talk about it for me. Is abandoning the tunnel out on Note and instead going to go get our Call of Brine and Eruption up on the map. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Rob, I think that was a bit of a greedy play for sure from Xeno. As Arya mentioned, Xeno had that very early game pressure and throughout the early game carried it on. I mean, we had the death hook onto Note so quickly, probably in pace, if not better than Momo's death hook onto Zaka was in our trial 1. However, just as Note was getting unhooked on that death hook and getting FTP'd, we did see Xeno, prioritize that gen kick. I totally respect the desire to get Pop Eruption, Call of Brine Eruption onto that gen. But it's not something that you can afford against teams of this caliber. You abandon that tunnel out, you take your eyes off Note for literally 5 seconds, and they know exactly what to do. They're going to get Note out of your line of sight, and the Note was invisible for the rest of the trial until we were down to 1 gen high progress. And that's just That's just a great macro play from the survivor's perspective, and a huge punishment of a 5-second judgment call from Xeno.
Very well said, Rich. Very well said. Speaking about great macro plays from our survivors of X9, I did want to kind of talk about avoiding rush hits in power, right? I kind of want to ask you this question, Arya. How much do you think this really impacted the match, not allowing Xeno to get free tags with power?
Yeah, I mean, we saw so many times throughout that game, we had several survivors healthy. At one point, we had all 4 survivors healthy for a brief period of time. And in a Blight 4v1, that's not something you're accustomed to seeing. So not allowing these free tags to happen basically just meant that in the 4v1, X9 didn't have any worries. Most of the time when we're talking about a 4v1, we're basically talking about, okay, the survivors have a huge advantage over the killer. But like, add on to that the fact that Xeno couldn't secure any quick downs, and it just became completely undoable for Xeno. I mean, there's a few times at filler pallets where Xeno just lost an unlucky 50-50 and didn't get a tag that maybe in another reality did. But even then, when we talk about just having so many healthy survivors, we can bring in the what ifs of, okay, if Xeno does get that tag, we have 3 other healthy survivors to come take hits for them. We have 3 other healthy survivors to rotate for pulls without getting found. Like, there's just so much that Xeno couldn't do because he had no threat of slugging. Like, I don't know. We talked about beforehand as well that X9 plays the 4v1 extremely well, so if they can avoid a tunnel out, they're basically in a perfect position. It's when they get down to a 3v1 that things become very dicey and their comms can sometimes get muddled. But no, being in that 4v1 just gave X9 such a huge advantage in every way.
Honestly, that's such a great talking point too, right? Because like the question is so simple, right? It's, you know, how did it impact the match to not allow Xeno to get free tags, right? Like it seems very simple, but there's so much depth to this question that I think needs to be explored, honestly. Now, talking to you, Rich, here, I did want to ask you, like, you know, what was like the major like difference in the gen spread in the 3 gen at the very end between both games?
Yeah, we definitely saw that be a huge factor in that match, as it often is when we see Blight on Suffocation Pit in particular. You know, you get one survivor out of the game by the time you get down to 1 gen, and then you just kind of hold that 3 gen. However, when we think about 3 gens, it's not just about how tight they are, it's about what side of the map they're on. It is so much easier for the survivors to play around a 3 gen that's in the middle of the map, where, you know, they're working on one. When they get chased, they can go top side. Their teammate, when they get chased, they can go bottom side. That's such a less tenable situation for the killer. And we saw eventually they were able to just kind of put that vice grip on Xeno, get a little bit of gen progress here and there, and finally close out that final gen for the win condition.
All right, excellent from both of you, Arya and Rich. And let's go ahead and move on to the next set. Let me go ahead and pass it over to the casters. Take it away, Andrew and Volkas.
Thank you very much once again, Rob. We are here with Zaka on the Oni, his most trademark killer, arguably maybe as well with his spirit, but definitely one of the killers he is most well known for. Always brings up good results, and it is to be noted that Elysium actually won this set with a very cinematic finale last time they played Mirage against this team. So we will see if we can get a bit of the same here today. We get Note immediately going to the... Oh, double vaulting the main building window immediately. Risky play to give up the first M1. As we all know, in Oni sets, the first injury is the most important part of the day. The longer we can delay it, the absolute best it is for everyone. Note holding this chase beautifully right now. Zaka allows him to get this vault, but Note has the balance landing in the back pocket. It's going to be taking it all the way up, but Zaka is retaining his bloodlust. No chance of ever breaking that yet. We make it to the pallet gym, but we don't have that much distance. Note in a bit of an uncomfortable position and ends up giving that first hit right there and then. That's going to be quite nice for Zaka. Very timely first hit, not too late whatsoever. We're trying to get a bit of a mind game going here before we break, but forcing Note to vault is very interesting because of one of Zaka's add-ons that causes an extra blood orb to spawn every time a survivor vaults a window or a pallet. So those extra vaults that Zaka forced Note to do are going to be giving him a bit of a point for power. And Zaka actually greeding slightly, not even getting the power from Note, but instead choosing to immediately rotate and try try to look maybe for another M1 or some gen control here, trying to bait Ja to coming a bit too close to the sun, but that's not going to be the case. Node getting reset in the background, and now we are kind of reset back, but we do find the reset spot. So not only are the players somewhere around here, we know where the most progress gen is, and now we do have power in hand. So the next healthy survivor is going to be in for a rude awakening, Andrew.
I love that start play. By the way, great first chase by Note, utilizing that window, that pallet, and then the balance landing. But unfortunately, like you said, the Bloodlust just kept going. We are going to pop power here. Bloodlust kept going. We were able to get that swing through the pallet on the pallet gym, and now Zaka in the power. When we left chase, we knew we had just enough blood, just about enough blood. We knew that Note would get reset, and then the reset would provide us with a bit of a blood bank, and we managed to get power. Great vault back and forth there on that not so safe pallet by Wispy, but that's going to be all she wrote for Wispy. We're going to go down, and I imagine we're going to go for a little bit more. We've got some eruptions, and we've got somebody potentially nearby. No, I don't think we are actually nearby. Yeah, we've got Jaw on this middle gen, and we've got the other two survivors down by Shack, looking for a little bit more there with the last bits of our power. But Pain Res comes through on this middle gen, which is going to be really good for Zaka, being able to hold the top side of the map. We got the 3 gens by main building, plus this middle gen. So stopping that gen from popping for a little while longer is definitely going to be a strong macro position. Now, unfortunately, though, we are a little bit starved. You're right about that vaulting. Holding Note at this pallet here for a couple back and forths was really nice, getting a couple extra blood orbs, but not going to be enough for power. I would say we probably drop power with Wispy, maybe with about 25% or less remaining. It's hard to tell. The HUD is a little bit bugged when it comes to Oni's power and add-on, so we can't tell. But we are probably sitting around that 50%. If we get another M1 on anybody, we should get our power immediately. But for now, we're kind of in a holding pattern. We don't have our power. The survivors are going to try and come over for the unhook, and I guess we're going to get into another chase here.
Zaka actually picking a beautiful time to come back just as the unhook has happened, not allowing Wispy the max distance she could have around the main building or going all the way to the shack for free. Has the 15 seconds of BT, but this is one of the reasons I absolutely adore the Oni set, and especially when Zaka is playing these split-second decisions of what to do, for example, in the downtime while Wispy is hooked and you have no blood, are so important to the overall progress of the game. We now see Zafis coming in for an uncharacteristic hit tank. You don't normally see hit tanks happening in the Oni set, simply because it is more blood at the end of the day. Zaka not going to continue that chase, instead coming back to control the generator. Knows Ja must be around, but he also knows that Ja has that spring burst in the back pocket. Should be more than enough blood in this area to get the power, and now we have 2 survivors running to the same objective. Zaka, great job of macro, using his macro ability and rotations to keep the survivor zone. Masterfully done. We find Wispy camping the shack pallet, we drop it, and now Zaka needs to be mindful, because while this chase is happening on Wispy, Ja is right back on that gen, not being able to convert it. We don't have that much power. We did spend some time kicking that gen. Few more opportunities. Another upright pallet being found. Wispy needs to make this last and is going down. Eruption going to be hitting out. We do not manage to pop that generator over in the tile by the top side. That's going to be absolutely huge for Zaka, but this still is a good death spot for Wispy. No pain res left. Ja now plenty of time to be able to pop this, while Note is working diligently, and as well with Zafis, diligently on the top side generators. We do not want to give Zaka anything for free. 1 pops, we have another one on the way, and Zaka looks like if he's in a decent spot, and he is, but he needs to be careful right now. I think the bottom side generators, I don't know if he can get all the way to this left of main generator in time to use Pop Eruption. Looks like he can. That is fantastic for Zaka. If he had given up on that gen, then we would have been in a much bigger state of trouble. Now it's all about finishing up this tunnel around to Wispy, getting another power in hand, and going haywire on the top side.
I think we've got potentially, like, the heal came in on Zafis while we were in power. While you're in power, Oni does not drop, or rather survivors don't drop the blood orbs while we are in power. But yeah, okay, we're finding a lot of orbs, but from Wispy down here at this short wall jungle gym. In addition, I was going to say down by where Zafis and Wispy looked like they were kind of starting to reset by Shack before we pop power. There's quite a few orbs down there, so I think there are enough orbs on the map, but we can't really, like, leave this chase and walk across the map to get them. We just instead decided to bleed Wispy long enough to get some power. Zaka pops power again. We got to know that Note is cranking that generator in the nearby topside generator. There are so many God Rocks in this map. My goodness, pallet density really coming back to save these survivors to last a little longer. The generator does pop. We're going to be playing this edge. We get a little bit hung up on the rocks there. We're going to come around for a flick, and we are going to get the down on Wispy. That should be an instant hook. Unfortunately, though, for Zaka, 2 more generators pop during that chase. I don't think there's a lot of gen progress anywhere else, but the gen... never mind! Jaw is finishing the last generator, and we're at 3 hooks, and we do not have power currently for Zaka. Zaka's going to need to get at least 1 more kill here to get a 2 fresh hook, 6 hook game. This is looking really bad for Elysium. The game was kind of hanging by a thread there. It could have gone either way, and it looks like the survivors really good efficiency by well done. Really good efficiency by Team X9. And Zaka does find Jaw, take down Jaw, and it looks like we're going to get a pretty standard. This is like one of those results where the killer didn't pop off and destroy, but the survivors, understood the assignment. 6 hooks, 2 fresh, very winnable, very tieable for the killer of X9. But, I mean, we know what happened last week, Volkas.
Yeah, we most definitely know. They might have to come back down to the wire when it comes to this Oni sets. These Oni sets are just so incredibly great to watch, I feel. And yeah, X9 they just had the entire match wrapped around their figure, it feels. They gave away relatively early first tag, but they would just never let Zaka get any breathing room to snowball with. Didn't give him any excess blood at any point, and even though Zaka has great management in those regards, he was just not able to crouch it out and get some more stages on the board. So 6-2 final result. Tell us what you think, Rob.
All right, thank you very much for that, Volkas and Andrew. And yeah, we got some nice stuff to talk about in this little intermission here. Now, first and foremost, I got to ask you, Arya, can you talk to me about the use of Zaka's power in this match and kind of how it really unfolded in the match?
Yeah, so we start the game, we get a fairly early first tag, we find the reset after getting our eruption on one of the gens, and from this point, Zaka basically just used his power as a tunnel out tool, which in a lot of circumstances might be helpful. However, Wispy was winning just enough 50s and playing just enough fillers into each other that none of these downs happened in an extremely fast pace, and even with a hit tank coming through, something we never see in an Oni set, he just didn't have enough blood afterwards to actually capitalize on anything. A lot of the time what we'll see in Oni sets is Onis after a certain point realizing, okay, if I spend all of my power trying to go for this one tunnel out, the survivors are just getting free gen progress. They don't have to respect the fact that I'm in power, that I'm one of the strongest killers in the game at this moment. They can just sit on gens. So the fact that Zaka just used his power for tunneling out basically just gave X9 that free gen progress. And that's why we saw them pop all gens by the time he killed Wispy. And I kind of have to almost disagree with that play. I feel like if at any point Zaka maybe, when he saw that, okay, this tunnel out's taking a bit too long, I might have to drop, try to go for at least one other survivor to go down, maybe play into my pain resonance a bit, maybe play into my pop a bit, that maybe we could have at least seen maybe a 7-stage result like we saw last time with Zaka against X9. I just am honestly not sure.
Yeah, honestly, really well said. And quite frankly, I very much agree with the gen progress statement, right? I mean, X9's gen progress this match was just completely uninterrupted, save for a few moments, right? Like the pain resonance on Jaw's gen, maybe some eruption value here and there. But of course, other than that, I mean, the gen progress was pretty much, for the most part, completely uninterrupted. So the survivors were able to really just kind of sit gens until completion. As Wispy kind of just like, while the chases won't last super long against Oni in power, the best thing he could do, and he was able to do flawlessly, is die where he needed to. So that was absolutely very, very well done by our survivors of X9. But one thing I got to ask you, Rich, because that X9 wasn't the only one really kind of playing for the win condition, of course, right? I do have to ask you what you thought about Zaka's decision to tunnel for the entirety of the match.
Yeah, Rob, it's an interesting question because when we think about comp DBD, we just think about tunneling. That is the most important thing in any given game in terms of what kind of results we're seeing, and it's why we see such high 4K rates, is because these killers usually know when and why and where to tunnel somebody out. We saw Zaka do a bit of an overcommittal there, and I have to call out another of our premier players in DBD League, Pedro, because Pedro gets a lot of hate for kind of spreading hooks across the board, but in a position like that, where the survivors are kind of dominating you in the mid to end game, it is actually a reward for our win conditions to spread that pressure. And Zaka getting massively punished there just by a couple good chases from Wispy. So I just want everybody to keep in mind that, you know, the whether to tunnel or spread pressure, whether to abuse your perks or just focus on Wispy until he's out of the game is a second to second decision, and these killers have to make it 100 times in one game.
Very well said. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are loading into the second match of the Oni set, so let's go ahead and pass it back over to our casters, Volkos and Andrew. Take it away.
Thank you, Rob, and our analysts. We are back in. We've got Angels on the Oni, not rocking the bear this time. I've seen nothing but teddy bear Onis, but we've got the attack on Titan skin, I believe. We have found our first chase here at the main building. We are going to chase Xeno again. Our win condition. Remember it, folks. We are looking for 6 hooks between 3 survivors, or a total of 7 hooks will be a definitive win for Team X9. X9 taking. Keep in mind, 6 hooks, 2 fresh is not unheard of. It's more common than you'd think. It is a pretty good indication of the survivors did a good job and the killer wasn't able to force too many mistakes. That's typically what you see. That being said, I was going to say, it looks like we were going to be heading for a hit, but we actually transfer our chase over from Zaka to Xeno over to this middle filler pallet. Trying to see if we can make it work here. Trying to see if we can get a hit off. Good throw, a pallet throw there by Xeno. Now we're kind of on a 50-50, and we do unfortunately lose that 50. Xeno is going to take a hit at 5 generators. Again, you don't want to be giving up free hits to Oni, but let's be honest, some of the best killers in the world, sometimes you gotta play your 50s and see how it goes. Bamboozle that window for Angels. We're going to run around here, see if we can get another fresh hit on Ivan. Ivan has this good filler pallet, though. This rock pallet, another one of these really, really strong, almost ridiculously strong rock pallets on the coal tower, and we're going to be trying to make and a good hits the edge of that pallet stun, and Ivan's going to prolong this chase a little longer. Volkos, what do you think? Do you think Angels has a 6 hook game or more, or are we looking at Zaka's gonna hold through here?
I mean, personally, a six hooks too fresh is a result of a failed tunnel out. And by failed, I don't mean that the tunnel didn't happen. I mean, it didn't happen in a timely enough manner to put the pressure on. So usually 6-2 just means tunnel out plus endgame kill. So now I was going to say it's all up to Angels to find the rest of his blood through this reset, as he didn't opt to take his first hit onto Xeno and then continue to sort of run around with him and pick up all the blood orbs that he has and then go to try to pop power on somebody. He instead left and tried to switch out the chase onto Ivan, who did a great job there, getting a beautiful pallet stun and actually getting rid of 1 tier of bloodlust that made the chase sort of uncommittable. So now Angels finding this again is a great spot for him. We are in 4 gens remaining territory. The first generator has gone down. Now we're just looking for our next target to pop power on, and we need to be very careful here. Ivan has to be around here. Angels has that info in his head, has that game sense, and needs to now simplify and interrupting this again, making sure he regresses as much as possible. Zaka is on the generator with him, more likely than not on the top side of the map, I would imagine. We see somebody here finally. We have Xeno in the shack with the head-on in his loadout. So if we see another head-on play from Xeno, that will be fantastic. Is Angels ready though? Doesn't choose to bam the window before popping power. Is gonna do so now. Great vault timing, gonna force Xeno to drop that shack pallet immediately. Xeno getting also the flashlight cracker blind. We can see 3 generators in the background. If Xeno is able to last any amount of time here, that will be great for our survivors, but unfortunately not. First down gonna be going down, but we have 3 separate generators with 2 of them at least decent progress, 1 of them about to pop, and Tech working diligently in the background now. The problem arises here, Andrew, that Angels is going to need another hit. There is no more blood on the map for him to get power. So another M1 will be required, or the blood that Xeno spills from being unhooked.
Yeah, and it looked like Angels was looking for the perfect chase there. Where can I get a perfect chase? And then in the end decided, okay, you know what? I'm not finding a perfect chase. I'm going to go for Xeno here at Shack. You could almost see the hesitation on Angels to not want to go engage Xeno at Shack, but in the end wound up having a pretty quick down, a nice little flick after breaking Shack pallet to take the first hook on Xeno. And you can see Angels Angel's doing what we didn't see last time, knowing what our win condition is. Good hit on Ivan. Knowing what our win condition is, not caring as much about that tunnel out, looking to get some fresh hooks, try to secure those. But look at our HUD here. Zaka forces that generator in the face of a raging Oni, finishes the second last generator, trying to play this this sort of crooked long wall. We're actually gonna, never mind, Xeno back and forth there. Xeno, I think, intentionally taking it down there, knowing that, hey, we got to stop. We can't give up fresh hooks. I would rather go on hook for a second time. No pain res. Oh, sorry. Actually, this will be a pain res. Xeno taking that down so that we don't give up another fresh hook. I think that was an intentional play. Also takes the takes the other survivors, gives them a little bit more room to work these generators if we do decide to take the hook rather than slug. And that's what we see here. But we found the injured Ivan working this generator, so we have more blood. Angel's got to make something happen with this power, Volkus, or we're going to be in trouble.
Indeed, and I think I'm seeing the same misplay that I saw last time from Angels when he was playing in this exact set. He's spreading his pressure a bit too much, but he's not actually getting much pressure off of it. People almost know that he's not going to commit too much, so our Elysium survivor side can play off of that and do so very intelligently as well. Xeno now stealthing around a little bit. We do find Ivan, I believe, in the shack, or at least we have some info that Ivan is here. We're trying to play around these vaults, but we're not going to be able to catch him out. Not that much power left in the back pocket now. If Ivan can do some jukes and make it happen, no, unfortunately. Kind of gets shot through that ever so slightly, but that is the power out on Angels. Xeno be sitting pretty on a gen, it seems. But actually, Zaka with the flashlight from the sidelines, denying a crucial fresh hook for Angels now, who has to commit to somebody else. Ivan is far away and we don't have enough blood here for a power. Surely not yet, at least. We need to get away from this. And look, Zaka and Tech are just free to play aggressive and put progress on this last generator. Whichever side of the map it might be on, they simply don't really have... Angels doesn't have the momentum to not allow them to do so, and Tech is gonna pop his gen. We have more blood here, but even if we're able to fully kill Tech, that is only going to be 5 stages too fresh. That is not enough. Angels needs to make magic happen. Is he going to be able to convert at least 2 hits here with his power? Gets Tech. The slug needs to happen. Picking Tech here is not going to be enough. They can just leave him to die, and that is a-okay. Needs to keep this going now. We find somebody by the gate. Good pre-run though. Are we going to be able to convert this? We need to do so. And Zaka, another fresh going down. Angels converts that, also can pick this now. But if we get Tech, pick him up and get him out, it's the same result. How will Angels make more happen?
We need to get this hook. Now we're at 3 hooks too fresh. We need another hook on any fresh survivor and then camp them to death to win it. But you can see the red light is on that door, where you can see the red light is the door that we're hooked by has has some progress. The door by main is basically open at this point. We've got all the injured survivors, so this is in a situation where as long as we don't down Xeno, we're good. But that also means we're going to have to worry about how far away from these gates are we going to hook. Because if we get a hook outside of power, where we do not have power in the base, okay, we're going to down Ivan. Survivors are going to need to go for the save. They cannot let Ivan die on hook. That being said, we probably will have enough blood to be able to stand at hook with power. I don't know how the survivors get out of this one. This has been such an explosive endgame. The flashlight into the power, into dropping the last generator. That is our 3rd fresh hook at 4 hooks total. 2 more hooks, including the ones on hook there. 2 more hooks will be a win for Angels.
Angels taking this set will be absolutely immaculate here to go up 2-0 in the grand finals. The resets are coming through, but Angels has that power in hand. I don't know if he's going... How do we even send it in for this unhook? We can trade Xeno. That's absolutely fine. If Xeno dies, that is okay, but we cannot afford another stage after that in any way. And the healthy Xeno, you could just pop power on him, kill him, and if they come in from the sidelines to try to get the pull, then they can't give up anyone else. So Elysium in a very, very difficult spot right now. We see the reset coming out onto Zaka. Xeno shows himself, prompts the power proc from Angels, who is very intelligently looking back also. Xeno finds himself on the edge map filler, but loses the situation. The pull needs to have already happened, surely, but Tech was just finishing getting reset with Zaka. What is the idea right now, Andrew?
That was well. I was shocked. I was shocked that Angels left the hook. Like this is the one thing that can make you lose is getting only Xeno. But Xeno came in early, and Ivan goes to struggle. Xeno comes in early. Okay, and now Xeno's hook is the win.
And you
Right?
can't stop this. Yeah.
And this now you yeah. I mean that you're right. That unhook needed to come in. I was shocked that we left at that point. Why would you leave the hook if the other two unhook? Then you get Xeno, and that's not enough. But as soon as Ivan went to struggle, now that is on the board. We have 6 hooks, 3 fresh. That is a win for Angels. A bit of a misplay there by Elysium. They needed to be in position by the time Xeno got spotted and chased again. I was about to say how Angels was throwing, but the survivors of Elysium just not there to finish the job. Win for Team X9, 2-0 so far. Rob, take us through what happened.
All right, thank you very much, Volkas and Andrew. And yeah, let's talk about that because that went from an almost like surefire win for Elysium to a win for X9. So really well played by both teams. But man, X9 coming back from this Oni set. Previously, the last time we played this Oni set between the two teams, Elysium took the win. But now we have kind of really moved forward to X9 being up 2-0. Really, really intense stuff. So, Ariel, let me go and ask you a question. I would like to kind of ask you about that flashlight save because that could have been a really important factor of this match going into Elysium's favor. But Angels still clutched the win. What do you think realistically could have prevented Angels from taking the win there after that flashlight save?
I mean, yeah, we were talking about an almost full reset onto the pressure that Angels had. He had a small window there to take the win, and it seemed like it was taken from him right then and there with the flashlight save. I mean, it looked like any scenario where he downed another survivor just wouldn't be enough. We only had 1 fresh on the board by 1 gen remaining, and then the end game happened, and we don't usually feel like one of these top teams is uncoordinated to some degree, but it felt like Elysium's coordination slipped greatly at that point. We had the 1 down onto Tech at main, then we had the down, I believe it was onto Zoc at the exit gate, and it felt like the rotations were not on point. It felt like the comms were not on point about the exit gates. We had an exit gate top side, a hook on bottom, and the survivors just kind of showed themselves injured by the hook against Oni, giving Angels free power, free blood, and a free fresh hook to chase. He was able to chase Yvonne and down them, and that kind of was the nail in the coffin. So I'm still trying to figure out what how that end game went so wrong.
Yeah, definitely worth mentioning, right? Because quite frankly, the early to mid game was really going into Elysium's favor, but somewhere around the mid match, things just really started going into Angel's favor. I mean, like honestly, like, the early game, very good chases, very good death positions. I mean, Angels was like really struggling to get the ball rolling, but Elysium, I think at some point really let things go. And Angels was just able to really take advantage of the mistakes that Elysium was making. So really well played from both sides, but Angels taking the win, noticing the exact kind of like dominoes that needed to fall in order to get the entire chain to fall, right? So really, really good talking point, honestly. But Rich, I got a question for you. Yesterday we saw in the semifinals between X9 and Umbrella. After the first set was lost by Umbrella, there was kind of like a drop in mental fortitude. Do you think that's kind of happening today with Elysium?
Yeah, it's definitely possible for any of these teams, Rob, and I think it's such an important thing to talk about as kind of the what's going on outside of the game for these teams, especially in this set. It was an amazing set to really show that off. 6 stages, 2 fresh is not the ideal killer tie condition to set in a game 1. So certainly it was going to be it was going to be in favor of X9 going into that game, and when you get to that middle game and even the end game, I think where Angels was behind in terms of meeting that win condition, they had to have been panicking a little bit. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. What really I think makes the difference between the best teams in Comp DBD and those that are just on the cusp is that mental fortitude, the ability to keep it together when that happens, know the correct risks that you have to take in order to continue and try to meet the win condition. And Angels did a perfect job there with that, the second last power use, getting the 2 downs that he needed, and that was really the only way they could have closed out the set. If he was just panicking that whole time, Rob, I'm sorry, the win condition would not have been met.
Yeah, very, very well said, honestly. Thank you very much for that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will be moving on to the Onryo on Midwich. Let's go ahead and pass it back over to the casters. Take it away, Volkas and Andrew.
Of course, and with great pleasure, we'll take it back. We shall Angels on the Onryo here. And this is a set we really don't see a lot of the time. We have perkless survivors here to equally to represent the power of the Onryo. Very, very interesting situation to find yourself in a comp game having no perks and you have to play around the killer. That honestly, on this map, the 2 stories and the teleport locations can actually make her quite a bit of a hassle to deal with. From our survivors, you can see 3 different survivors already with the stack on them. This is what more likely than not we're going to be playing around. The Onryo doesn't really have the chase capabilities to be able to do so. Dragon's Grip also here allowed in order for the Onryo to maybe get a surprise down onto someone. But yeah, no chase power really for Onryo. She can just kind of demanifest and manifest whenever she wants, but that is about it. No crazy lunges, no blight rushes, no nothing like that. Has a lot of mobility on this map, especially as we said, because of the TV locations. Now looks like we want to commit a tag onto Xeno. We have the Sloppy Butcher in hand, and this is just another way for her to get pressure. Xeno getting slightly mind game, but the demanifested Onryo doesn't have any real visual info on her when she is demanifested, so very, very difficult to keep a track of. Angel's gonna be opting for the hit and run method, which I have a feeling we're gonna be seeing a lot of here, Andrew.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, typically when we're on here on Midwich, we're watching a dredge match, very occasionally a pig match, but Onryo we don't see as often in the competitive scene. We'll see on your HUD there, Ivan rocking 4 stacks. Never mind, I was about to comment, probably about to put back a TV, and they put back a tape on a TV. Ivan dropped. It seems like Ivan actually was on while you were talking about the chase there with Xeno. Ivan looked like they were running around turning off TVs because we were gaining stacks even though we were not teleporting. So Ivan picking up a tape and then running around tapping the off button on a couple of those TVs to take away Onryo's teleport power right before dropping that tape into their TV and dropping their own stacks there. Very interesting start to this match. We've got the Sloppy Butcher, which is going to allow that hit and run. We're kind of bouncing around the map, trying to catch people out. You can see the heal, the reset coming in on Xeno on your map there, on your HUD there. We're going to get another kick here. We've got Call of Brine on multiple generators, so we should get some pretty decent information when the survivors are working which generators. And again, you know, you're going to see a lot of hit and run. You're going to see a lot of tag a hit and then go for someone else. Your goal as Onryo here is kind of mixed. You are able to teleport around the map, so you want to put out some damage with that Sloppy Butcher, maybe catch somebody making a wrong rotation somewhere, and then also obviously if you can manage to get someone to the condemned state, you can take your 3 hooks and get them off the map immediately. But these survivors know that, and they're going to be working these TVs diligently. We're chasing Xeno here, who does have a tape on them, but no stacks. Zaka with 4 stacks as well, but Zaka's probably about to drop a tape. You got to imagine what a real turning point in this match will be if Angels is able to find somebody with many stacks and actually get a hook on them or force a chase on them, not allowing them to work their TVs. That's gonna be kind of a turning point. But survivors know it as well. 5th stack on Zaka. And speaking of Zaka does have a tape in hand, I believe. But if we're able to get 2 more stacks here and down Zaka, we can take Zaka off the map. Obviously, not going to be an easy feat for a killer. Angels breaks that pallet and continues his chase.
Yeah, and we have to keep in mind also Midwich, not really the most resource intensive map for our survivors. We have our 2 gold pallets and a few fillers, and usually they are quite poor. So the survivors, considering this is such a long drawn out game where you can't spend too much time on gens, you need to be worried about what's going on. It's very, very difficult to make sure that those chases later on in the game can indeed happen. But first and foremost, always priority number one is to stop any condemned kills for coming out. Giving anything like that out for free is pretty catastrophic. Angels choosing to commit onto Zaka, it seems, our very first fully committed out chase for now. At least maybe trying to zone him towards an area where we can get some more teleports in and get another stack of condemned on him. Looks like that's not going to be the case, and again, we abandon this chase once more. And honestly, Onryo sets to me are a bit interesting in a way of that we have our standard DBD game, but we also have this big side advantage. What a speed boost Angels got from teleporting out of that, allowing him to get the hit, excuse me, onto Dolk, who now is going to be left with the Sloppy Butcher while we try to find another hit here to get Dragon's Grip. Yeah, indeed. Now,
Oh no,
Ivan,
sorry.
yeah, it wasn't actually, never mind. Both were wrong. But Ivan going to be getting tagged and left alone for now. We're going to look to maybe get a tag onto Zeno as well, or try to find someone else. Zaka has in fact been able to cleanse quite a few of those condemned stacks, now back down to a conservative 2, which is absolutely fine level to stick around in. And we can see, even though no chases have really been committed, just playing around the condemn and the hit and run playstyle, we still do not have a gen anywhere near popping, it seems. First gold pallet gonna be going down now. Zeno breaks that, is exposed from the Dragon's Grip. Is that what I'm saying correctly there? Oh, yo, he needs to be very careful in the situation to not give any free hit. We do have another pallet here, one of the newer pallets that can spawn in this map, but is the Onryo with us still? We know, yes it is. She is. Angels is here. Can he get a hit? Demanifests again. The passive blinking in and out of reality there catches Zeno off guard, and now we have all 4 survivors injured, but not that many condemned stacks on the board. Never mind though, however, Zeno might be getting a few more right now. Angels managing to teleport right on top of him. That's another stack, and now we're just playing this back and forth. And while Zeno is being committed here, the rest of Team Elysium can go ahead and crank those gens and hopefully get some of them gone before anything too bad can happen to our beloved Zeno.
This is a very scary place to be in. Oh, greets the pallet and gets away with it. This is a very scary place for our survivors to be in. We've got Sloppy Butcher and all 4 survivors injured. Again, not, Unreal, not with a crazy... Oh, a little bit of a mistake there, dropping the pallet on the wrong side, and Zeno will get picked up here. And I thought Zeno had a... Yeah, I was going to say, Zeno having 5 stacks, 3 of them get locked in permanently with that hook. Actually, I believe it's 2 and is it not 2.5? I think is what it actually is. I might be mistaken on that. Again, Onryo, not exactly my area of expertise, but yeah, the survivors all being injured makes it so that we can pop in and out of these TVs across the map, and pressure it down at any point. Doc being chased here upstairs. That God pallet was dropped by Zeno earlier. We have this kind of a 50-50 pallet. Can be played either way. Doc greeting it and going back downstairs, but that is not going to result in a pallet. We're going to get another down here. And and we are in fact going to go back and see if we can find Zeno, or at least potentially put some more stacks on. It looks like Zeno, the HUD's a little bit bugged, so it's not entirely clear how many stacks Zeno has, because Zeno definitely has at least three markers on them. But the HUD's a little bit bugged, so please excuse that if we're not able to stay completely on top of these stacks. Gonna try and get a reset here on Doc, Volkus.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, what do you mean you don't have your PhD in Onryo? This is completely
Well, I know she is my main, of course, but...
who doesn't main Onryo, am I right? But yes, do forgive us here. There is a lot of mental to keep in track right now in the Onryo set. As we said, it is a very, very macro set, and it's all about collecting... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Help. Somebody needs to come over from Team Elysium to try to help Zeno. Last year only has this 50 situation to play around. We need some altruism right now, or we're going to be losing Zeno. Who is going to come in from the sidelines to save our beloved? Is anyone even here? Maybe they're not even playing for it. Maybe they have enough gens ready to go. Zeno maybe even thinks he can last here, but this is Condemned is not something that just goes away on its own. If you don't insert the tape, Zeno is just permanently going to be on quote-unquote death hook. He's going to be Moriable the moment he goes down here. Maybe trying to last as long as he can, and then we can try get the stun on the pretty weak pallet. That's great for him, but he's in a 50-50 situation right now. Angels, is he breaking that pallet? No, it doesn't seem like he is. We do still have this one nice and upright, then this one dropped also, but Angels has actually left did not want to interact with that, wants to stop the generators from popping. Dragon's Grip on this gen, but everyone is injured. That's not going to matter too much. It's going to be more about the info. Has eyes on Xeno, but Xeno is playing so aggressively, almost telling Angels, come and get me. We have the prog to back this up. And Angels is scared. It's working. Is he going to be able to get it down on Ivan right now? And even if he does, more likely than not, we might even be seeing a slug here, as we can now use this opportunity to get more info, more pressure, and maybe Xeno out of the game.
Xeno has still not returned a tape. We see that I believe they have one in hand, but we have not returned the tape yet. We are still facing potential death on next hit. Ivan slugged, and Angels is trying to teleport around, trying to find what TV Xeno might be going to. We found Xeno, and Xeno is dead. Give him that eyeball. There we go. All right, Xeno out of the match. Gets found trying to return that tape, and unfortunately, my goodness, Xeno dead at only one hook technically, but that will be all three on the board for Angels. We're down to the 3v1 in Midwich versus a stealth killer. This is a scary place to be if you are Team Elysium. Angels is around every corner, looking to give you that eyeball. That was crazy. Yeah, Angels leaving that chase to go pressure the generators, to go chase Ivan, to go bounce around and scare them, and then still managing to bounce back, find Xeno before the TV before the tape gets played. Wow, what an explosive situation, and Doc not seeing the incoming killer with that passive phasing, and Doc is going to go down here basically for free. That must have been looking left and then looking right, and then every time we look back at the killer must have phased for a second. And yeah, Doc goes down for a pretty free hook here. And I don't know, Angels seems in pretty good control.
Yeah, Angels does indeed have quite a lot of control going on. I feel like Elysium was trying to avoid so many stacks early game, but they just couldn't get gen progress because of that. Xeno's chase was great, but then getting caught off guard and out of the game immediately is not the best spot for them to be in. They took time to reset, which I think, in my opinion, is wise for sure, as now we need to try to get an extra 2 generators off of the board, because if we get 4K at 2, even though this is a result we've seen before with this balancing, however, it is not ideal at all. We have Doc touching the somebody touched the Dragon's Grip gen. I heard that. You can't fool me. Doc getting pulled from the hook in the meantime. However, we have, that's Zaka being exposed in a very, very difficult situation right now. But we do have the comm coming from Doc, but he's not able to get anywhere with this chase. No safe pallet in his side. Ivan, even taking a hit, would never ever get Doc off of this hook. And now this is a problem because Ivan is in our sights, needs to try to get away from this area so Zaka come over and pull, but also needs to try not to give this tag. Any tags in this situation are absolutely lethal. Angels has all the time in the world to make this area as unplayable for Ivan as he wants. He has the hook here, and it's now the survivor's turn to try to make a move on Angels, excuse me. It looks like Zaka just stayed here, wanting to put more progress on this generator, has the tape in hand. Don't know if it's gonna be enough by the time this all happens. Doc got pulled, but now is injured on Death Hook, somewhere on the map on his own, and the comms need to be strong for Zaka. It was right there onto Ivan's gen, and Ivan's gonna be taking another tag. Zaka being seen once again. I would not be surprised if Angels tries to get another tag onto Zaka, and they'd start doing some very, very strong slugging.
So the reality is, I think that, Zaka is sticking this generator. I think the survivors know that they are in 4K2 territory. And once again, we're in that situation. Don't worry about getting outs right now. The outs are not on the table right now. The next step is get the 4th generator done. If you can get another gen done, you give your killer a chance to have a strong showing like Angels has here to tie, maybe win. But if you get 4K2'd, you're in a position where you'll be lucky to tie. It's likely you won't. You really, really need to get one more generator done. And unfortunately, look at this. Back and forth. Angels going back and forth, pressuring Ivan, pressuring Zaka, turns around, does a 180 on Zaka, knocks Zaka down on the ground. Doc somewhere around the map on Death Hook, injured. We chase Ivan away, kick that generator, and we are looking for it. We find the scratch marks here. We do, in fact, find the scratch marks. If we can get Doc out of this game, that will be a devastating situation for the survivors to be in. Looking around, trying to find him. We know he's here. We found his scratch marks. These are Doc's scratch marks. Zaka's still on the ground. You got him. I think Ivan is probably working that generator. Never mind, picks up Zaka. Was getting probably stopped the regression and then went and picked up Zaka. Generator's still only sitting around 50%. That is not enough. Angels, very calm, cool, collected. Knows that at any point we can go and kill Doc, but wants to make sure we don't lose a generator for it. Ivan, fully exposed, fully condemned, and found, and Zaka, and Ivan is dead at no hooks. Ivan is dead. We're giving the eyeball. That's double eyeball play today. We have Ivan out. We have Zaka fully exposed as well. Doc as well, but Doc doesn't matter. It looks like in the process of this 3v1, we have had to completely dismiss all of the tape plays, and we found Zaka. Doc has about 30 seconds to get a generator done, or we're going to get a kill on Zaka. Never mind, we're going to go and find Doc. Angels, what a phenomenal play by an unorthodox killer.
Angels is playing this so beautifully. Great macro, great patience on every play he makes. He's been playing the long con and it's paying off right now. Doc can be found and down, and then we can really easily, we have info on where Zaka is. Doc unable to force the locker. It was so important for Doc to get that locker forced there, and him not being able to is pretty much going to be the nail in the coffin. 4k2 for Angels. There is no way this generator is anywhere near popping. Yeah, get one more kick on it for the love of the game, just to make sure that nothing crazy can happen. The pickup is being attempted right now, but it was just too much pressure and a few just slight pieces of lost coordination between Elysium survivors that made this result come to fruition. Again, beautifully well played by Angels. I can see why X9 would have picked this set. They clearly are able to do very well on the killer side. I mean, Angels just understands what to do beautifully. I think I'm very impressed, but I will also be super interested to find out what they can do on the survivor side and how Elysium will clap back, because now if they lose this, they're going to be going down 3-0 in this best of 7. Even with the Joker set, that is a scary place to be. What do you think, Rob and our analysts?
All right. Wow, what a match to kind of come back and analyze here, right? Thank you very much for that, Volkas and Andrew. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about what happened here. First off, I wanted to talk to Arya and ask you about Angel's game plan and whether or not it was successful. I mean, quite frankly, there was a bit of an unorthodox tunnel out onto our first survivor here. I believe it was Zaka, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, it was not Zaka. It was let me see. It was, I believe, Zeno who was the tunnel out, quote unquote. And that was actually with a bit of a game plan of using Condemned instead of hook states, obviously, right? So, Arya, can you go and talk to me and let me know whether this was a successful game plan going from the start of the game?
Yeah, there's level of finesse that goes into playing on Rio. Finesse is in the trait, not the perk. And Angels just had it perfectly. He went into the game. We didn't see a down. I don't remember the clock. Did it say like 6 minutes or something? It was a long first down. But Angels, he went in trying to deplete the resources. What the basic about Onryo is that her chase power is almost non-existent. She's an M1 at her core. She's not going to win chases if the survivors have resources up. So Angels just spreading Condemned and forcing survivors to drop resources as quick as possible. We saw some use out of the bloody fingernails. We saw spread injuries. All of this, I think, fit into Angels' original game plan. I don't even think it was looking so bad for him, but he didn't get overwhelmed. He didn't even switch up his game plan. He just kept playing the same way from the start, depleting resources, getting tags. He got his hook onto Zeno. He got his Condemned onto Zeno. Zeno had Bombastic Side-Eye at 2 gens remaining. That was the first death of the game. And all of that, I think, just flowed into Angels' original game plan. It was just the resource depletion into no chase resources, into downs, into condemns. It was kind of a masterclass.
You know, petition for Inexorable Stare to be changed to Bombastic Side-Eye at 2 gens. I think that'd be a fantastic name. But yeah, no, great points though. I mean, it's really cool to see the Angels never strayed away from his game plan. He had a solid game plan in mind, and he knew the timeline of it. Wasn't worried about the gens popping. Wasn't worried about any of the resets. He had a game plan. He was on the timeline for it, and he stuck to it. And I love to see that because it worked out very well for him. And getting a 4K2, really solid stuff from Angels. Now, switching sides here, I would like to ask Rich about Zeno and how aggressive he's been playing on Survivor, and whether that's really been benefiting Elysium or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know me, I love talking about Xeno and his gameplay. Unfortunately, today that gameplay seems to be working in favor of the opposition. I mean, Angel's going in with a calm, cool, and collected game plan, playing the slow game. Xeno, unfortunately, not built like that, not really built to play out a game that lasts 20 plus minutes. He's in it for the aggression. He's taking aggressive chases. He's getting fully condemned, saying, I'm not hiding. You just come and chase me if you think you can down me before these gens popped. Unfortunately for Xeno, sometimes that just gets called out. I mean, you're playing against the best players in the world, of which you are one. But there's only so much room for that level of confidence in these games, Rob. And Xeno fully punished for it there for sure. Props to Angels for that punishment.
Now, there was a secondary question I did want to ask you as well, Rich, because Arya did mention it. She talked about the fact that Onryo doesn't really have a chase power to an extent, really, right? I mean, she has an add-on in the form of bloody fingernails that lets her have a larger and longer speed boost coming out of a teleport to a TV, of course. But there was something else that Angel was doing with Onryo that kind of helped with chase. Do you want to talk about the manifest mind games that he was kind of employing in each chase?
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to Arya for that mention. Bloody Fingernails is a staple add-on on Rio for that exact reason. Just helps you get those hits. But something else that does, I mean, when we think about Onryo, we think about M1. I mean, that's the only there's really not much chase power to be spoken about. However, we did see Angels utilize the little bit of chase power that Onryo does have, which is those manifest mind games. So for anybody unaware, when you do remanifest, you're actually kind of going in and out of visibility, including your red stain, for a second or two. There's even an add-on that increases the amount of time that happens for. And we did see Angels actually convert a couple different hits off of that. At the same time, there's some downside as well to going for that because you can you can end up, if you don't get the hit, just wasting your time disappearing and reappearing for no reason. So I do think that Angels used it great in that game, and we're going to see in the next game how Zaka uses it as well.
Yeah, very well played. Very well said, honestly. I mean, Angels played that expertly, right? Very, very good control of the map. Never really faltering. Never really giving up on the game plan. So it was really well played and a great analysis from you, Rich. Now, Arya, I did have a question for you. There was a moment where Xeno had a fantastic chase against Angels, right? Really good stuff. And then moments later, caught out guard. And I kind of wanted to ask you about that because usually in most Onryo sets, teams will kind of like pair together in a kind of buddy system so that if someone is getting condemned stacked, they can, have a buddy with them to take a hit for them, maybe escort them to a TV to get their tape dropped off. We didn't really see that from Elysium. Do you think that maybe that could have been something that could have contributed to a better result for Elysium Survivor side?
Yeah, we saw a lot of injuries on the board, so it might seem at first glance like it would have been too difficult for Elysium to do a buddy-buddy system, but I feel like, yeah, when you have a survivor that's fully condemned and at risk of dying too early into the trial, I feel like you need to have one person paired with them. Basically, this person serves as their bodyguard. Even if they're injured, I feel like it's almost more worth taking the down versus just losing a survivor altogether. Like, let's say that Zeno had a buddy during that full condemned. They TP out of the TV. He has somebody to take a hit for him. He can still, even though the Onryo just TP out of the TV, put his tape back in. Suddenly, he's not dead. He can last a bit longer. Ellie can get more gen prog. So much could change just with that one little change of just having a second survivor nearby them.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. One thing I want to mention before we pass it over to the casters is that the Joker card is in play and can be used by Elysium here at any point. We are going to be a match point here relatively soon. So if X9 wins this next set, not Onryo but the Lich, X9 will be taking this 4-0. But the Joker card is still a potential play for Elysium. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me go and pass it over back to the casters so they can take us into this last match of the Onryo set. Take us away, Lucas and Andrew.
All right, so we got a 4K2 tie condition. We have a 4K3 win condition. Zaka has a lot of work cut out for him. This is not an easy win condition. Obviously, if things go the same way we saw last match with the survivors getting fully condemned, that will be what we want to see Zaka. That's what Zaka's going to want to do. I wonder if that's going to be a cautionary tale to the survivors of X9. Hey guys, whatever we do, oh, this pallet didn't spawn. Unfortunate, no pallet spawn in a room that always spawns a pallet, except for that time. So Angel's going to give a free hit there at the beginning. Really unfortunate for Angels. I wonder if the survivors are going to take a lesson from the way that their opponents played last match and now hopefully play this a little bit better and be a little bit more mindful of their stacks, or if they're just going to slam the generators. It's hard to say. We're going to get a pretty quick down here, it looks like, Volcas, because like, yeah, we're zoned. We're done here, right?
Yeah, this music room is notorious for indeed kind of being unescapable unless you have max distance around this pallet, but even then it becomes difficult. Zaka getting his first down onto Angels, and already we are seeing a different early game plan. Arguably, this is probably the best time to do your hit and run, considering you have Corrupt up and you can play around it. But we can see already, look at your HUD right now and tell me what you see. That's right, you see 3 generators being progressed by X9 survivors. I believe those are 3 different generators, but I might be wrong. I might be wrong there. Not 100% sure. We know for a fact it's at least 2 of them because Wispy is about to pop the first gen, and that is kind of a consequence of not going for all-out map pressure. The moment Angels comes that Zaka is fully committing for the down, everybody can safely stick onto their gens, and the Onryo can't really do much without the comm coming through. And of course, if you're X9 here, you pick this set not only because your killer side must be good at it, your survivor side must have a solid game plan going into it as well. So they need to be prepared for that, and clearly they are. They know what they were planning to do, regardless of which path Zaka chose. The all-out map pressure with Condemn or committing this first chase because it was slightly handed to him. Regardless, he needs to 4k3 here. That's going to be difficult. He's going to have to allow this pull onto Angels. He's not able to find Wispy on his way there. Angels now going to be just running away from this. Has no perks to help him out in this chase. 15 seconds from now is going to be big trouble for him. Ja ready to pop another generator, and note over 60% on another one. So now, how good is Angels' M1 chase? Can he last? But it's already looking like 4k3 is going to be impossible, and Zaka will at best have to play for a 4k2, Andrew.
Yeah, and we're kind of playing this more like a standard chase rather than, like, again, our first down last time came in around 6-something minutes. Oh, look at this. We got Ja. Sorry, Ja. Yeah, we got Ja coming in to tank it, allowing, we don't even take the hit, and we allow Angels to get to that very strong window again. We're just playing this like an M1 chase. We're not, okay, we're going to get the down here, but that is there. That is the tie condition right there. Note does have 4 stacks, but, and so does Ja actually, but we're not doing the same bounce around, hit and run, condemn, keep them on their toes play that we saw from the last match. Ja and Note both getting their 5th stacks. We are chasing Note. Note does seem to have a tape in hand. That was not a condemned stack for either of them. The one thing you can do against Onryo, though, is even if you are fully condemned, as long as you have a tape in your hand, you can take an M1, put the tape in, and get downed. It will result in giving a 2-tap, but at the end of the day, you do not give up an instant kill. So the survivors should be, and I guarantee are aware of that. Ja just pressuring the last generator, trying to get this. Yeah, I gotta say, we're chasing Wispy here. I don't love this by Zaka. I don't really know what the game plan is. I don't know. Have we given up already on the potential win condition? We're trying to get that blocked window, and we will get the down here. This is just not enough, though. The game's about to be over. We're running this like a regular chase here, Volcas. I don't understand. This seems like not the right move.
Yeah, Andrew, I can't say I love this from Zaka overall. He has played this pretty much almost ignoring the condemn mechanic up until pretty much now, where a lot of stacks are already on the board, but the game is already over. That's going to be 3-0 for X9, just like that. And Zaka, it almost felt to me like he wanted to get this set out of the way. It felt like he didn't really feel like interacting with the mechanic of condemn and getting that extra pressure via that. It seems like he just wanted to play for chases, but you simply can't do that. The only reason what Angels did so well last time, what worked and what actually gave them a 4k2, was it was maximum interacting with the condemn mechanic. He was just doing everything he could to keep up the stacks and playing off of it and playing for map pressure, whereas Zaka from the very beginning, first tag he got, he committed the down. Second tag he played for the tunnel out as per usual, and you're just giving up all the opportunities that this killer can present, and you're just choosing to play an M1 killer with nothing spectacular about them. I don't believe that is the mentality that can make you win a set, but unfortunately, maybe they just want to retain their mental, throw this set on the back burner and be like, okay, well, we're never going to win this one, whatever, we didn't practice this very well, blah blah blah, and now we are going to be looking wayward towards the future. Everybody condemned right now, though, in the present, and Zaka does have the opportunity to get a 4K1 if he's able to finish up all of these chases, get Wispy down, and just sends it through like a madman. The window's already blocked. So now Wispy gonna be getting that bombastic side eye, as we said. So now we can continue going from there. A bit of generator progress on the very last one, but yeah, not too much to be done from now on, Andrew.
Yeah, I like, so it's interesting. You say, okay, let's just move to the next one and whatever. I gotta wonder if that's like I agree with what you're saying, but like if you're asking me, hey guys, let's just go down 3-0 and reset. That doesn't seem like a great. That's a really gross eye. That doesn't sound like a good plan to me. You know what I mean? Like, you are down 3-0 now. I don't think that Zaka threw the match, but I definitely think that Zaka just was not focused on, like, or either aware or cared. They get all the gems done. We're gonna get a 4K0. Good job by X9. Whether not caring or not understanding the assignment, whatever you want to call it, Zaka just did not play this the way that you needed to play it. We got a very quick down. The fact that we were putting pressure on the map faster than we saw faster than we saw Angels do, I think that was really possible for Zaka to win. I think that Zaka kind of, just played it like a normal chase, didn't work out. We're moving on to the Lich set, though. Rob, take it away with the analysts and talk about that very, very quick Unreal match.
All right, thank you very, very much, Volkos and Andrew. And yeah, let's talk about this pretty incredible game here, especially considering the fact that X9 is currently up 3-0, and that is absolutely insane, honestly. I do have some questions I'd like to pose to my analysts really quick, starting with you, Arya. I did want to ask you the major difference between the traditional tunnel out from Zaka versus the condemned tunnel from Angels, and how that really impacted the results from both killers.
Yeah, we spent some time talking about this in the last trial. Angels went in with a game plan, first down, past 6 minutes into the trial, didn't let that phase him, just kept teleporting, getting condemned kills, yada yada yada. That's great. What we saw from Zaka was similar play to the Oni set, though, where he just kind of laser focused onto one survivor for the first portion of the game and didn't really take advantage of the fact that his killer had a map mobility tool, had a condemn tool that could put pressure on the survivors. And in doing so, considering that at the end of the day, Onryo is just an M1 killer, of course we have the passive phasing, but the chase was just prolonged and it gave the survivors so much gen pressure. It almost felt like he was conceding the set just by chasing Wispy for as long as he did, without really trying to pull anything. And by the time he decided to drop chase onto Wispy, it was already a bit too late. So yeah, it did give me a lot of callbacks to that Oni set, and I feel like when we're talking about an unexpected killer pick like Onryo, a killer that we don't see very often, you have to kind of get a playstyle that's out of the box a little bit, something fairly new. Whereas like Angels, if I took a shot every time Angels teleported to a TV, I'd be dead by the end of the trial. But if I did that for Zaka, I'd be fine, just considering how they played around their power.
Yeah, that's an excellent point to really bring up, right? I mean, the playstyles varied very differently, and you can definitely kind of see that in the result. I mean, you mentioned it, you said it very well, and I think it's a really good point to kind of really bring out here, especially considering how drastically it really impacted the results. I mean, Angels bringing out a 4K2 by sticking to his game plan, never really straying away from it. So. And then, of course, with Zaka trying his absolute best to meet a 4K2 tie condition because the win condition was just too difficult. Kind of coming out of the match here with a 4K0. Now, I mean, talking about win conditions and how difficult it can be really quick, I did want to ask you, Rich. Difficult win conditions on the killer side can really, really be, difficult, of course. So, why don't you talk to me about how you feel going into a match trying to meet a hard win condition?
Yeah, the players are always put in a difficult spot when the first game is a 4K2. You really just you can't expect your killer to exceed that for sure. You can maybe hope to tie it. That's the kind of area you're in when you see a 4K2 tie condition in the first game. So in this case, Zaka didn't have the same game plan as Angels. Certainly didn't capitalize on the one benefit that Onryo really has, which is spreading that condemn pressure. But it's also just difficult in general. The survivors can really dictate the pace of the game when the win condition is so difficult for the killers. So like you're kind of starting off on the back foot, and that difficult win condition makes it so you cannot dictate the pace of the game. So even though we saw a very reasonable 4K0 there from Zaka, it's just they could never go into that game expecting to meet or exceed a 4K2.
Absolutely, yeah, I do agree with that. Now, I do have a secondary question to ask you here, Rich, and that's going to be kind of when X9's been on the back foot in recent events, right? With some of these matchups, right? We've seen them come out of things with a pretty clutch play, right? Sometimes these things happen. We've even seen from Elysium some attempts that honestly could have led to a better result. Do you think there's anything that really kind of has to do with these top teams and their ability to pull out clutch plays?
100%, Rob. I've talked about how I think the mental game is a big difference between the top players, the top teams, and the second echelon, and that's certainly going to be a factor here, I would imagine. These teams are not crumbling under pressure. If anything, they are at the level that they are because they can perform when we put a lot of pressure on them. So you mentioned it yourself. Elysium is down here, 3-0 against X9, and while they will have that Joker set advantage, so if X9 meets the 4-game threshold to normally win the match, Elysium will be able to replay one of their lost sets, and that's a great benefit to them. They are still down even with that advantage. They really need to make a comeback here, both kind of mentally and in game, but they're one of our top teams. They got the title last year, so I really think that they can pull it out.
Yeah, it's definitely doable, right? I imagine that after this fourth set, we'll definitely see them want to pull out the Joker card, of course, and we'll have to see if that's going to be a point of contention for X9 here. And I'm really curious to see which set would be replayed via Elysium's Joker card. Now, I did have a question for you, Arya. One last question as well. Um, Now, I don't really feel like Zaka was able to put out the same amount of pressure on the survivors of X9 as Angels was onto the survivors of Elysium. Can you kind of talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, as previously mentioned, he just did not make use of Onryo's biggest strength, which is, of course, her condemned. It was more so just a playstyle of, okay, I'm going to chase, I'm going to try to get this tunnel out, I'm going to play this like basically any other killer, and like Rich was talking about earlier, we don't put enough emphasis on how important tunnel outs can be in comp, so trying to warp your brain a little bit at this level and go from, okay, I need to hard tunnel out to, I need to play a 4v1 because this killer can play a 4v1 is very difficult to think about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And great talking point, honestly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be moving on. I'm going to send it over to the casters so they can take us into the fourth set, the Lich here on Dead Dog Saloon. Please take it away, Volkas and Andrew.
Thank you very much, our wonderful host and analysts here. We are in Lich DDS, going back to the basics. No Ormond Lake Mine this time around. No beautiful job dodging those skeletons. Anybody that is not aware, elevation versus Lich is always a bad idea. Those skeletons cannot be crouched in areas on this map like the main building, which make this a much more advantageous map to the Lich compared to some of your other standard comp maps you might see. Solo Ruin gonna be doing some work right now as we find Wispy get the orb onto Angels as well. Mage Hand picks up that pallet. Does Wispy make this vault? No, he doesn't. Just barely unable to do so. Maybe on same ping, he does make it, but not this time around. Xeno gonna take that fly to try to follow up, cut Wispy off from going wherever he wants. Is he going to be able to find him and commit him? No, Wispy's just sitting on the backside of this of this building, just kind of chilling for a bit. Has this little pallet. When it's pre-dropped, it just adds a little bit of extra distance here. We find him with the killer instinct on the orb. Great heartbeat reading from Wispy to maintain that max distance. But going into Shaq, Shaq has elevation too. He should be dead here. Needs to juke. Is able to do so. Just barely lift up the pallet, but this leads right into the card pallet. Can we get it down? No, we cannot. So much early game pressure by not getting this down, and now we have no spells to really play around. Just the fly. 50, which side is he going to land on? Can we make it back to the shack? Yes, we can. Wispy, desperation swing from Xeno does not connect. Great start for X9 right now, Andrew.
That was such a nice fly play by Xeno to try and like left, right that pallet. Wispy did not fall for it. Wispy absolutely was able to make it to Shack Pallet, get it down. Shack Pallet been dropped twice in that chase. Finally destroyed. And looks like we'll get an M1 here on Angels. But yeah, there's a decent amount of gen progress around the map. Like you mentioned, though, we do have Ruin. I didn't hear if it got broken yet.
It's gone. It's gone.
Is it gone? I'm so sorry, I missed it. I was locked in. So never mind. Take that back. Yeah, we're gonna continue this chase on Angels. Looks like we will get our first down here as one generator pops. Will another? There it is. Will a second generator pop? It does, in fact. And that breaks up, man. We had a really, whenever you look at Dead Dog Saloon, you got to look at the gallows and the deep desert area there and see what the generator split looks like. There was a very tight 3-gen in the back there. Great job by the survivors of X9 to break that 3-gen during that first chases, I guess you could call them. Multiple first chases before the first down, splitting up that 3-gen, not allowing a dangerous 3-gen at the end of the game. Now, Vecna is an interesting killer. We definitely have seen 4Ks, but also if things, if the chases go the way they kind of have been, you can definitely see outs on it. This is one of those ones that very much depends on the survivors and on some of the play obviously by the killer. Really unfortunate for Xeno. Very, very good play by X9 to dodge multiple elevation skeletal hits in that first portion of the match, both at main building and at Shack. And as a result, yeah, Xeno took quite a while. That was a 2 minute 28 seconds for that first hook. We're doing a little bit of proxy camping here, because we're going to try and stop any free unhooks on Angels. We do have a bit of a 3-gen around here, so we're not in a terrible position, but definitely a great start for our Survivor team.
Indeed. However, the sad reality of this map is that any 3-gen that involves this main building is not really a 3-gen at all. That main building is such a time-consuming gen for our killer to go and check. It needs to fly over to it or something. Otherwise, no matter what happens, the survivors will have the maximum amount of distance to chase around the main building. However, Angels going second stage is actually going to be something very nice for Xeno. I think at this point he needs to realize that he's aiming for high stages and not potentially a 4K. He simply has no gen setup to play, and that is catastrophic. Able to lift the pallet straight off of Wispy while he is vaulting it, guaranteeing that tag right now. Has the skeletons back in time, I think, to come stop this unhook? No, not quite going to make it back to the area in time. Needs to commit to Angels now, try to get this tunnel out going and pretty much complete it as soon as possible. Angels can't really vault this pallet with the distance. No, he could, but never mind, he does not indeed. Skeletons now up. Is this enough time? Yes, and that's Angels going down. We still have the Painterers on him, so not all is lost, but any point right now, we need to have just a good second chase, maybe even find a down onto Wispy to then try to snowball kind of from there, because otherwise right now it is not looking the best. Ja not popping this generator is actually kind of huge for Xeno. Gonna be able to put Eruption on it. The orb finds the reset though. Reset happening. Can we dodge the skeletons?
Oh!
Wispy cannot, but Note can. That's gonna be that reset immediately taken off the board, and we're able to get back to this gen, put Eruption on it, and now I wonder if X9 are going to try to make that reset happen again, and it will all depend on Ja and his comms if he can last in this chase, or if this chase is going to go kind of nowhere. Still has the jungle gym here to play around. However, yeah, that's just gonna get mage handed. You tag Ja, and now you move on. And it looks like the reset idea has been abandoned. So Wispy right back onto that main generator, but when we have skeletons, this could be a problem. Xenon's gonna have to be hyper accurate with it, but for now he's being hyper vigilant, just looking to see if anybody got to this first. They did notice there with the Repressed Alliance. We fly right back down to him. Are we gonna be able to get on top in time? The skeletons would not make it, unfortunately, so Xeno just has to contend playing around this building. So long as he can get node, if he can get node down here, he'll be in a fine spot, but that is definitely not a guarantee. Beautiful greed of the pallet by Node, but the Matron's gonna come up and confirm this tag. However, Wispy, that main gen is racking up in progress, and you have this one which is also high in progress. You want to at least get 7-3 here if you're a Xeno. 6 stages might simply not be enough, and now I'm sure he's racking his brain to put a to find a way to make that happen, Andrew.
I don't hate what's going on here, though. That tunnel out happened at a time where it is redeemable here for Xeno. I also I want to go back there. We were chasing Note around that end of the street generator. There's I really liked that. Oh, they managed to get that generator done. I liked those zoning skeletons we did to prevent from going back up the stairs and getting another vault on that upstairs street window. I really enjoyed that. That's something that a lot of people don't necessarily focus on when we're talking about Vecna. Is you can good pathing here by Ja. You can use skeletons to get hits, obviously, but you can also use skeletons to do zoning. If you force the survivors to crouch, even if you're almost guaranteed not to get a hit, you can use the skeletons to force a crouch, therefore force them to lose distance and not make it to another tile. So we end up having to play that street tile. As a result, we are all injured with Sloppy Butcher here in the 3v1, and the generator does pop.
Oh my god! Double down!
No!
4K0! What are we doing?
What? They forced the generator! Oh my goodness, I was gonna, when he gets Jaw, and I didn't even see Note go down. This is so clutch. Wispy cannot be found right now before the survivors have a chance to recover. Looking around, oh my goodness, what a great double down skeleton. Greedy play by the survivors to get the generator done. Will it work? We're coming close, Volkus. This is where you see the scratch marks now. We're chasing Wispy.
There they are. We find Wispy, he's able to get the upper no, but he's just out in the open. He's gonna get him one here, has to force the locker. He's able to do so. I was just thinking to talk about how greedy X9 are being by not ever taking a single reset in this gen split, and that it might come back to bite them, and that's exactly what's happened. A lot of pressure was just out there. If we were able to find Wispy, that would have been a guaranteed 4K0, but very well done by Wispy to not panic there and not give Xeno any info for free. Xeno baiting the rotate onto Ja to try to find Node, hopefully going for this exit gate, and he's going to be able to find him. And tell you what, you know how I said that Xeno wants at least 7 stages from this? I find it very difficult that he's not going to be able to get them. He's able to get it down onto Node, but he's thirsty for it. He wants the 4K0. Wispy does get pulled. Does Xeno believe that he has the time to get back there in time, get another down, ideally on the fresh Ja, before anything else can happen? We still are in risk. What is this gate's progress? It's 0. We did not have any time to work on this gate, but now we just need to split up as much as possible. We see Wispy going for the gate first and foremost, wants to guarantee that this game is not going to end in a 4K and that we get some form of outs. But now that Ja is going down, I am sure Wispy will also take this opportunity to pick up Note, try to make something happen. No, we're just hard focusing on the gate. No fly spell in the arsenal just yet, but if Wispy gets out, that is still going to be 9. Excuse me. Is it Note being found with this? But we can't save both, can we? We still have to pick one, and of course Xeno is going to pick Note. However, Wispy moving away from the exit gate. Note moving away from the exit gate, excuse me, and then being found again. Can't say for sure. I understand this fly is up. We have to vault this window, vault back into the lich, but the door is broken. It doesn't mean too much. Do we have skeletons to confirm this? Doesn't seem like that's the case. And look at that. Xeno just cutting Note off from this, and now Note can go all the way to the other side and try to pick up Ja. It almost seems like Note kind of mind games Xeno there. Xeno might still think he's over, and Wispy is going to just simply crawl out. Xeno doesn't have the time for this, but that gate is not open. We need Ja or Note to die to get an acceptable result here from this.
Yeah, this has been so close to almost being a 4K, but the survivors of X9 have done a great job in pressuring and Jaw being the, if you want me, you're coming to Comp Corner. We're going to various corners of the map. We're going on a world tour here. Jaw goes down again. I'm pretty sure that's going to give Note plenty of time to get out the other door. Wispy, again, down, slugged at the gate, just sitting there. Wispy does, in fact, leave. I would imagine we're going to see Note leave any second now. And now we can go pick up Jaw and get our, that will be, it's, well, you were our prophet. That is going to be a 7-hook, 3 fresh game. And that was almost more. That double down skeleton into, but we weren't able to find, it was Wispy. We were not able to find Wispy, right? It was Wispy, right? Or was it Note?
Yeah, Wispy. It was Wispy that was stealthing around, and he in fact did not get found. But we need to congratulate for a moment X9 for their damage control after that. To be in that situation and not actually get 4K zeroed is so insane. And Wispy also staying in that exit gate area, baiting Xeno to fly back after getting the down on Ja, thinking that he could have another chance to buy some time for Ja to try to potentially get to the hatch. It didn't happen, but so much to talk about, and I will let Rob take over with our analysts and do just that.
Alrighty, thank you very much for that, Volkas and Andrew. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of what happened in this match, because there's a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. First, starting with you, Rich, I'd like to ask you something here. And it kind of relates to the fact that we saw a lot of use of the Lich's power this match, specifically the skeletons, honestly, but also some really nice usage of the fly, the dispelling sphere, and the mage hand. So why don't you kind of talk to me about the Lich, the power reliability of the Lich?
Yeah, and it's something that we saw both Xeno get punished and rewarded for, really. Yeah, when you're talking about the Lich, it's a killer who gets pretty consistent results actually, and it's because of kind of the potency of the different powers that Lich has access to, and really the scenarios in which you are able to use those consistently. Now, consistently is the key word there, because if you try to use these powers in a way that's not necessarily consistent, you know, if you talk about a consistent way, we're talking about getting a hit off of a mage hand at a pallet, getting a fly for distance, oftentimes, you know, start of the match, middle of the match when you're trying to get back to your gens, or Flight of the Damned on elevation. That's why we choose DDS for this set, because it's so much more interesting when you can play with that perk and it can't just be crouched. Sorry, that power, and it can't just be crouched. Xeno, in some cases, especially earlier on in the game, was going for definite less consistent uses of these powers. We're talking, you know, a significant amount of Flight of the Damned with no elevation at play, or you know, fly mind games at a pallet or a window, trying to kind of juke the survivor to the wrong side of the pallet. And that's something that I think you can't really afford to do. It's definitely aligned, though, with Xeno's playstyle that is very much high risk, high reward.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd have to fully agree. And I do like the breakdown of the Lich's power here. Richie Litchy, thank you very much for that. And going over to Arya, I'd like to kind of, segue this to you here, because we broke down the power and we kind of talked a little bit about the playstyle, but I think that you can kind of really shine the light on Xeno's playstyle and how it really coincides with Lich's power. Can you go ahead and talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, we talked about briefly how Xeno plays a very aggressive game a lot of the time. And with Lich, that is, like Rich said, a high risk, high reward scenario. Like, let's say Xeno had very generous power use. You talked about using the Skellies a lot, using Fly a lot, but if you miss just one or two of these powers in a chase, uh, it can set you back really far. We saw, especially early game, Xeno using Skulls and Mage Hand and not quite securing a tag, just because he might have used it a tiny bit too soon, maybe a bit too aggressively, and that left him as just an M1 killer during some of his chases, which on the DDS can be extremely difficult. We're talking about other killers that are played on this map not being able to secure down, so what is a Lich going to do without any of his spells? Another thing as well, before we hop into our next game, I wish that we saw a little bit more use of the fly in chase. On Ormond Lake Mine, it's a bit stronger for cutting off survivors, but even still, on DDS, there was a few scenarios where Xeno definitely could have used the fly as a cutoff tool to try to block a survivor from making a resource or maybe secure an additional down.
Yeah, very true, very true. Now we do have a little bit more time left before we go into the match, so I did want to ask how beneficial the tunnel out for Xeno was.
I mean, if that's one of the biggest parts of the match. I mean, Angels got off hook, and I think it was almost exactly 15 seconds after coming off hook, after being secured to second, he was dead. He made a resource, but he did choose to greet it. Unfortunately, Mei Chan would have killed him anyways. So yeah, we had an early tunnel out, which hopefully will not be repeated.
I did kind of want to bring up the snowball attempt at the end game. We can maybe bring that up later and talk about it, but for now, we are loading into the match, so let me go and pass it back over to our casters, that being Outcast, Andrew, and Volkas. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, thank you. We are back in. We've got Angels. We need 8 hooks or 7 hooks on all 4 survivors in order to win this set and force Elysium to use their Joker card and replay a set. Elysium down 3-0 to X9 right now. Great play there by Angels at the water tower. We're going to see some skeletons come through. We're going to able to play the low ground there for Zaka, but it looks like Zaka does not have enough distance unless someone, never mind, unless someone comes in for a hit. But actually, Xeno fails on the body block there a little bit, not fully getting in the doorway, and Zaka almost goes down a God pallet. In Shaq does manage to throw it. We're going to fly back, as Arya was saying, flies back to main here, using it as a way to get catch up in chase. Zaka staying alive, having a really great chase. Angels needs a down fairly soon. Zaka knows that their tournament life, knows that the championship is on the line. Continuing this chase over to the water tower. We don't make it back to the, oh my goodness, look at this, look at the lurking. But we sniff it out. That was very interesting. We didn't have any play that, we didn't point, we didn't wave, we didn't show any indication that there was a nearby survivor, but knowing Xeno had come in for the body block earlier, assumes and correctly Angels sniffs out Xeno, and now the survivors are in a bit of trouble. If we get a double down here, they are going to be in a very, very dire straits. And that's what happens. We're going to see 2 generators pop potentially, but Xeno and Zaka both on the ground. Not a great start for Elysium.
That was such a high-risk, medium-reward play there. I just don't feel like there was any need to particularly go for that pallet save at all at that point. We had decent progress on the map. We can give it 7-stage win con, 6-stage win con. We don't need to get 2 or 3 stages out the door, so I'm not exactly sure I agree with that. Angels now going to be taking his very first hook. 2 other injuries on the map as a result of that failed pallet save alone, so definitely gave Angels some free pressure from nothing. Both hexes still up, crowd control has been called out, and Ruin is still out there doing wonder on these generators that are not being worked on right now. The reset does come out onto Ivan. Zaka still injured. Now Angels making a hard call out there. Gets the down!
Oh no.
Where did that even come from? Where was Zaka? He was actually right there on the elevated piece there. That is catastrophe for Elysium. Zaka gonna be going down, giving another fresh hook, for an 8-stage win con or 7-4 is absolutely huge for Angels. Could have been a pain rest, but it's not. Ruin is still doing a lot of work. Everybody is healthy right now, and that is the only saving grace for Team Elysium. We need to get this unhook for free. We need to make so much happen. Xeno barely able to get away from those skeletons in time. Now Angels doesn't have them available in chase, but the Mage Hand is going to be around. If we can find a window to play even better, we can. But not only do we play it, we crowd it, and we take a tag through it. That is worst case scenario. Now Ivan needs to come here, try to help out Xeno. Xeno calls that he doesn't need the help, but he might. This is going to be the one and only vault he gets of this window. Ivan needs to wrap back around and somehow try to save Xeno. Xeno doesn't even make the toilet pallet, and that is going to be 2nd stage coming out onto Xeno. Elysium is still in very, very big trouble here, Andrew.
Yeah, my goodness. And crowd control doing work. Often you see the double vault there on that upper main building window when you get the the glitch flying in after you. No can do in this situation though. We throws the dispelling orb at the totem there, trying to see if anyone is working it. The other nice thing about crowd control, other than just blocking the vaults, it's also giving cover to Ruin. Just because you find a hex totem doesn't mean that you find Ruin. It could be crowd control. We immediately start chasing Xeno. You saw Ivan jump right on the generator in Angel's face, daring him daring him to come. I don't know if that was an intentional pickup. I think that might have been a misclick. That might have been meaning to pick up the pallet we were chasing, but it actually was funny. It redirected Xeno away from there. Doc gets off his generator to try and body block for Xeno's life here. A tunnel out of 3 gens would be devastating. Can't quite get the swing through on the window. Doc will take that protection hit, and now we are going to continue back into the desert area. There are usually 3 pallets back here that you can play. 1 is gone. Another one gets pre-thrown here. We're going to pick it up with Mage Hand. Can we make another rotation? Back, forth, Angel is on the pallet, and we drop the skeletons on Xeno's head, and that will be Xeno's life at just about this. We still have the pain res. I was going to say just about 3 gens done, but oh my, do they have another generator at 99 or something?
Yes, they must absolutely be the case. I think Zaka's generator, he has just been working on this entire time here by the water tower. Yeah, it is in fact going to pop. We can't even really afford to pop this for attack. This needs to pop for free, and pop for free it will. Okay, now being down to the last generator, we are still in a very fine spot, but we're in the 3v1 with Hex is still up. This is not okay. Doc being found in the chase behind this pallet behind main. This is not the best pallet to ever be on. Actually, Angels fails the spam cell on the skeletons. He's gonna get it through now, but not enough. Doc needs to win 50s though. Cross-ping 50s. How long can Doc last? Actually, he's able to break away back to this toilet pallet. Can he get the drop on it? No. And getting the drop from the Mage Hand pickup is a guaranteed death. That's going to be another fresh stage right now. If Doc were to die, for example, on this hook, this would be a tie. So Angels needs just a little bit more. We see the generator is being stacked, I believe. I think Zaka and Ivan are both playing for the same generator right now, but one of them is going to have to. That's another pain res plus the ruin. So much regression on that. Zaka chilling in the middle of the map, trying to spot out the rotation, trying not to be spotted himself, but he does get spotted. Now that means that Ivan is going to have to abandon this gen and let it get regressed by Ruin even more. No crowd control, thankfully, still on the map, but there is still a lot of difficult things to play for. Great vault there by Ivan. Angels unable to get the body block. You should never really get that, but if you do get it, it is an absolute game changer. Zaka all his way for the pull, manages to get it through, and okay, maybe now we reset Doc since Ivan is doing well in chase, and then we can try to move for some gen progress. The gen split is definitely very playable. Our survivors should be able to split this gallows gen along with the other one by the building on the other side of the map and be in a fine spot. Ivan forced to play some 50s around here. He's able to win it and gain max distance around the card pallet. Xeno was playing here earlier, and Ivan playing this pallet beautifully. Needs to wrap this log while the stack is undoubtedly going on in the background. Ivan gonna be dying under this pallet, but we can afford to give away this stage. But after this stage, that is not much more, because I believe this is now going to be 6 stages for Fresh. So one more stage is going to be the win here for Angels, putting X9 up 4-0 and forcing Elysium's Joker set.
Yeah, the survivors need to get the last generator done, get everyone out the door without giving up another hook at all. And as much as we are going to get the last generator done, having to greet it like that puts us in a dangerous situation. Zaka runs the main building, obviously the strongest place on Dead Dog Saloon, and Angels actually decides not to pursue and instead to keep an eye on Doc. Again, we have one healthy survivor, Doc, on the map here. Unless Doc can unhook Ivan for free, which Angels doesn't want to let happen, then we're going to get a trade, and a trade is the same as going to struggle. It's the exact same result. It ends up with a win for X9. It will be then a technically a sweep. However, well, I guess not technically. It will be a sweep minus the Joker set. So we will get one more set here. Elysium having one Joker card in the deck. We do see the reset here on Zaka. The survivors are out of time, and I think they know it. They know it. Yeah, they know it. They knew they weren't going to make it in time, and they just headed for the gate to try and get best result. Ivan going to struggle there will be the 7th hook. 4 fresh hooks means that is 4 straight wins for X9. So let me talk really quickly about this Joker set. In this situation where Elysium, this is a double elimination tournament for the top 4 teams in season 11. With with Elysium, with it being a double elimination, Elysium won every single set coming up to this. X9 got beat by Elysium last week and then won against Umbrella yesterday, so they got their second chance. Since Elysium didn't lose, they have the right to replay any of the sets that they lost to stave off elimination. So we will be replaying either Blight, Oni, Onryo, or Lich. It will be Elysium's choice. If they win that, the best of 7 continues. If they lose, that will be the win for X9. Volkuz, coming into this today, did you think we were going to see a sweep by X9?
I mean, I honestly did not. There were a couple sets here that I thought of for sure. Elysium very likely wins, but unfortunately, it seems Angels is doing a fantastic job on Killer today, and I think Elysium's mental has been negatively impacted by those early set losses and the close games. And I just don't feel like they've really been able to bounce back from that. The coordination is for sure lacking in certain aspects. And when you're playing at this level against somebody who is clearly extremely locked in today, you just cannot afford yourself to make any of these mistakes now. I think it's very clear that the Joker set Elysium is going to pick is Oni. I would be very surprised if they don't pick Oni. That is arguably their most comfortable pick out of the sets they have already lost today, and arguably Zaka's best killer, so it makes perfect sense in that regard. It will be very interesting to see how they're going to move forward with this, as now we're just about done wrapping up the game. 4-0 for X9. Now, if we didn't have the Joker set, this would have been a reset back in the old day. But alas, the Joker set is going to be here. And now, Rob, take it away. Tell us what's going to happen now.
All right, thank you very much, Volkos and Andrew. And just a little pretty crazy tidbit of lore to announce here. An NA team has not won a major DBD League tournament since 2018 in Season 2. And X9 is on the cusp of breaking that drought. And it's very possible that we see X9 take the win for an NA team for the first time in 8 years, ladies and gentlemen. That is absolutely insane. But there are some things to talk about with this match that just happened. I'd like to kind of bounce between Arya and Rich for some questions that I have here, because I think that our analysts have a lot of amazing talking points here. First and foremost, Arya, I'd like to kind of ask you about the risk and reward of using Hex perks on half of the build here with Crowd Control and Ruin.
Yeah, in the previous trial, before Angels' game, we saw Xeno bringing 1 Hex Totem and got cleansed immediately. That kind of set a bad pace for his game. Meanwhile, we had Angels coming in with 2. We had Ruin and Crowd Control on a map where Hex spawns are kind of figured out. People know where they spawn on DDS. Now, there's a few things to note. Crowd Control, amazing chase tool for Lich. He can fly through a window that a survivor vaults, and they can't revault him. It's just a free guaranteed tag. I love seeing that on Lich. It also doesn't activate or the Hex doesn't spawn until the perk activates. So there is the silver lining of that. But just in general, Angel's willing to make that high-risk, high-reward play of bringing 2 Hexes into this trial, and it paying off so spectacularly. I mean, it kind of made up for his semi-lackluster early game where he had a long first down, where we had, the little hit tank, quote-unquote, from Xeno, where he just ran in front of the killer, didn't even take an injury for it, made Zaka make Shack Pallet. And then it also made up for some of the longer chases late game against Yvonne, where we still had Ruin up, and it just kind of ate away at gen progress that wasn't being doubled. Like, it just helped so much in the long run that I honestly love seeing that high-risk, high-reward play.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just the risk reward nature of bringing Hex totems. They're amazing value to be had, but of course the risk nature of them is that they can be cleansed and gone for the entire remainder of the trial, right? So very true, very good point to be made there. Of course, now Angels is an incredible Lich player, right? The build is only as strong as the player, and of course, I think I'd like to ask Rich about the expert level of play on the Lich, especially around like body blocks and animation cancels and all of the different techs and tricks that Angels was employing in this match.
Yeah, for sure, Rob. It was something really nice to see after that first game, is Angel's use of these kind of niche mechanics that even a lot of Lich mains don't really know about. Just the first one being that if you ready up fly and then just let it go, you can actually get past somebody. We almost saw that get it down onto the tunnel out for Angels, though the body block did come in very, very last second at Shack window there. It was very it was very close to having a massive impact on the game. Another thing that did have a massive impact on the game is at that final tunnel out chase, Angels got the last down by using what's called an animation cancel. If you ready up Vecna's animation, let it go, and then ready it up pretty much immediately afterwards, there's a short frame window where you can do this. He'll actually be mid animation by the time you're able to cast your spell. So we saw kind of a mid animation Flight of the Damned that got that down onto the tunnel out, secured that for Angels, and the rest was kind of history. And yeah, I love that play from Angels. I love seeing the more technical aspects of a killer that's not considered quite as strong in this context, and I think it made the difference in this set.
Very true, very true. For the killer side, these are all fantastic points, right? Like this is definitely good information for people who want to kind of really explore the Lich's capabilities in chase, right? But for the impactful moments on the killer side, that about rounds it out, right? Now, for the impactful moments on the survivor side, I'd like to kind of bring up the unsung hero of the toilet palette on DDS. Can you kind of talk to me about that, Rich?
Yeah, for sure. I just had to call that out. We heard Volkas call it the toilet palette a couple times in game. Certainly comical, and that palette is kind of known for not being the strongest palette in the game. However, I want to come to the defense, play a bit of devil's advocate for that palette because truly it does buy a lot of time. It's in what would otherwise be entirely a dead zone. I think without that palette, we would see an insane amount of just comp corner deaths in that corner of Dead Dog Saloon. Now, in this case, both of our killers actually played around it very well. You can use Mage Hand to very consistently get downs at that palette, so it's not too much of an issue. But depending on the set, it certainly could buy, a minute plus, which is crazy.
Yeah, very true. It's kind of a, like it was mentioned to be an unsung hero, right? And that's just something I really wanted to bring up because it's not the best palette in the world, of course, but it's not the worst either, and it's in what would normally be a fantastic, if not the very best death spot on the map. Like if you can die in that area of the map, you are more than likely most of the time doing your team a humongous favor by dying in that area because you are nowhere near any of the active gens. You are far in the corner of the map, and you can buy time on a resource to kind of allow your team to crank gens, right? So definitely worth mentioning it to be a very good resource on the map. Now, I did want to kind of ask you a question here, Arya, about the pressure that Angels was able to emit on the survivors of Elysium mid-game by ending a lot of chases very quickly. I mean, it's we talked about it with Rich already. How Angels is quite the expert Lich player. Can you kind of break down the chases and how much pressure that really put onto Elysium?
Yeah, like I noted earlier, we started and ended the game, kind of bookending both sides of it with long chases. So you'd question how Angels achieves that win con. Well, you look at the mid game and you realize, okay, once those chases kind of wrapped up, we had the find onto Xeno playing for the pallet save that ended in a very quick down. That gave Angels a lot of pressure. After that, the tunnel out chases did not quite last as long as they possibly could have with hit tanks and stuff. And this excellent use of power that Rich brought up, that kind of gave Angels exactly what he needed to snowball that set and just build his way towards the end game where suddenly there's nothing Elysium could do. Because, like, most of the time when we see a long first chase, we're talking about, okay, that's going to be gens popped. That's going to be the game mostly ending. And even if Xeno just got injured when he was found out going for the pallet save, we still probably talk about Ellie being in a decent spot, but the fact that Angels is just able to wrap up these chases immediately, getting those downs, it's just something incredible to look at.
All right. Very, very good information there, Arya. Thank you very much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for just a moment. We are currently getting set up our Joker card at the moment. We have chosen the Oni set, of course. I think this set has honestly been the closest in comparison between both teams. As it was very, very close. I think it was honestly a pretty big clutch moment from X9 to pull the win from this set, despite them being up 4-0 at the moment. But at the same time, I think that this is a great opportunity for X9 to kind of take this out here on probably the most contentious set, honestly. So, yeah, I really I really think that this is a fantastic set to end on here. A great pick by Elysium, nonetheless, though, considering how close it honestly was, and the fact that Zaka is honestly one of the best Oni players in the world. I mean, mechanically, really insane Oni player, and just great game sense to go along with it. So I think this is an opportunity for Elysium to take this back, and maybe we go further into the matchup here. But of course, X9 really on top of their game today, and may want to close it out here. So definitely going to ask some predictions from our analysts here and see what both of your thoughts are on this set coming up here, especially after everything I'm kind of highlighted here between both teams. Let's start with you, Rich. What are your thoughts for this Oni set between X9 and Elysium?
Yeah, I think it was good by Elysium to pick this as their Joker set for sure, but it's pretty much impossible to side with anybody but X9 right now. They have literally everything in their favor. I mean, they started off 4-0. Nobody 4-0s Elysium realistically, but now they just have to close out this last set to close out the match entirely. And I really think they're gonna make it happen. That said, of course, it was a very close set that we first saw. Like you mentioned, Angels able to pull out the win in essentially the end game. What was the last, 30 to 60 seconds of the set earlier on Oni. And I wouldn't be surprised given that result if Zaka could actually pull it out this time. What I do think also works in the favor of Elysium is the fact that Zaka is certainly the more consistent of their two primary killer players. We've talked all day about how swingy Xeno is as a player, how high risk, high reward Xeno is. And I think that's definitely needed. He's got a big clutch factor. But Zaka can definitely kind of pull out a very consistent and meetable result in terms of the Oni set. As I mentioned during the set, one of our most accomplished Oni players in DBD League. So it can go either way. I'm going momentum in favor of X9.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much it's pretty much the expectation at this point, right? I mean, X9 has been on top this entire matchup. They haven't lost a single set. Elysium is just now employing their Joker card in order to hopefully take a win from X9, because quite frankly, with Dredge, Artist, and Spirit still remaining on the board here to be seen, I would love to see these killers get dusted off and be played between the two teams. But of course, X9 really, really showing who they are today, and the fact that they really want to take a giant win from the Titans of EU here, whether it be Elysium, Praxis, or Invictus. I mean, X9 taking a grand final against one of the biggest teams is definitely a moment of hype, and to be kind of recorded down in competitive DVD history, right? Now, Arya, I've got to ask you the same question. Predictions, expectations here for this Oni set being a Joker card for Elysium. What do you think is going to result at the end of this match?
I think Elysium is doing what we see in all the sports movies. They took their little break. They had the coach bring the team in for a huddle and say, okay, guys, we need this win. We need to win this Oni set. Otherwise, it's over. I hope, for Elysium's sake, that we're seeing a mental reset here. We're seeing them lock back in, figure out what they're going to do, figuring out, okay, we are going to set Zaka an attainable win con. We're going to focus on our M1 chases early game. We know we can manage to pull this off. And I'm hoping, maybe in vain, but maybe accurately, that Elysium will manage to at least bring in one set win to kind of set the pace for the rest of our grand finals. So I, against all odds, am going to bet on Elysium for this one.
All right, we have our predictions from our analysts, and I'm quite excited for this. So let's go ahead and pass it back over to the casters to take us into this extremely tense moment between both teams, between X9 and Elysium, and the expectations are on board for this match. So please take it away, Volkas and Andrew.
Thank you very, very much, Rob, for bringing us back to the action. We have Angels on the Oni again. Nolmas has changed build-wise. He's still rocking that BAM Eruption Pain Res. This is do or die for Elysium. They need an insane result, and they need it now. And what that means is that they need an insane early game, and they need it now. I really hope for the best for Ellie, that they have had their mental reset, that they understand now how locked in they need to be, and they can work towards it. Ivan on the first chase has the filler next to with his hook attached. Is very, very strong, very difficult to outplay with M1 purely. 5 moves ahead, gonna be buying some extra distance around this filler pallet and allowing Ivan to make the Paladin run. Now we need a great first chase, and who better than the highest ranked ladder player on Elysium to do it? Let's see how long can Ivan stave off this first injury for. It's gonna matter. He's able to force the break from Angels, get rid of that bloodlust. Jen's being cranked in the corner, and rightfully so. Angels wants no part of that now. But pre-running so strong from Elysium survivors here, coming back to break this pallet. We do not want to interact with it at all if we can avoid to do so. But again, we can always pre-run to the main building. We can always pre-run to Shack. And now, however, we are able to find Zeno. Didn't have the best filler pallet there, but was able to make it to the main window. Andrew, it looks like Ellie is kind of locked.
That, like, we're on the cusp here. They need to have a good first chase. They cannot give a free one. Like, this 50-50 could make or break this game. Sprint burst, we pretty much assumed Zaka there had sprint burst. Given the walking back and forth, we're playing this eye tile now, but unfortunately, Zeno runs into a box, and big mistake by Team Elysium. Zeno is going to make it to main building, but the first hit does come in before the first generator. That was exactly starting out to how we wanted it to be, but Zeno walking away from the pallet in the eye tile for no conceivable reason. Now we're chasing around main building. We're going to be able to stay alive for a while with that pallet and with this pallet here, but the reality is that the timer is started, the clock is ticking, and now how much can the survivors of Elysium get done before, good pathing there by Zeno this time, how much can they get done before we get full power, before we start the good swing through on the pallet, and Zeno's gonna get stunned there as well. Again, great gen progress on the map. You can see one generator's popped, a second generator, Ivan's almost got completed, and Tech is on the third, but Angels has what he needs. Angel, full power, full blood fury, starts the dash, looking for a target, trying to find a survivor to take down, and we force the generator here by Ivan. I don't know about that decision to give the free down. We are going to get the pickup. Zeno needs to get healed. We need to stop the bleeding, figuratively and literally. Zeno just slamming the generator. The survivors of Elysium seem to have thrown caution to the wind, and they're just slamming these generators, trying to get them done and get out of the match. That is going to be a pain res on that middle generator.
Oh, but that is not going to be enough for them to pop that, and that is catastrophe. We're able to not get the hit onto Tech, but we got auto-aimed into Zeno while he was being, while he was being unhooked, but that is going to be enough power. Zaka, we can all see you with Urban Evasion. You're not slick. We have the eye loop to play around here. Gotta drop that immediately. Eruption being put onto this gen. Okay, listen. It was a gross misplay from Zeno. Let's not undermine that. But this is still not the worst position in the world. If we can get good progress and some resets for this power, that is absolutely fine. If we can run this power, Ellie is outright winning their survivor side. But no, Zaka gets absolutely mauled right through that pallet, and that's going to be a pickup. And another pain rest right next to this active gen. It's looking downhill for now. Zeno is still not healthy, so blood on the map. Angels might be able to get another power. Ivan situated for the unhook, and what is Zeno even doing in this moment? Is he working that very far bottom jump? He might be. I think Angels is suspecting that, and that is indeed the case. So much blood going to be around here. Okay, maybe not too much because we were adjusting power, but is it going to be enough for Angels to get right back into his power? No, it's not. Zeno holding there with the balanced landing, waiting to see what Angels does. Not starting the chase by walking. Medium vault into the shack. Can we get anything done? The unhook has happened. No reset has come through yet, though. Angels picking power, and he's able to find the healthy Ivan with the stage on him. This gen has been regressed so much, but painfully so. Elysium might have to. Oh my god, that was so close. Elysium might have to give up that gen. It's all too central, and Chases can't really avoid being there. Ivan, great juke to bait out Angels. Does Angels know where Ivan even is at this point? Yes, he does. Has the bamboozle stuck on the S-tile. No pallet. This should be a down. Can Angels confirm it, or will Ivan be the hero Elysium needs right now? Vault right into Angels, if I saw that correctly, and Angels is lost. Angels doesn't know where Ivan is exactly. Does Ivan know where he is? I'm not certain either, but whatever he's doing, it's working. This is winning Ellie the game. Okay.
So close.
It was so close. It was so close. The power has run out, though. Zeno is still with a lot of blood. No. But Zaka is right there with the flashlight, and he gets Ivan off of the shoulders of Angels. This is Ellie. This is Grand Finals. They are making it happen. Andrew, what am I witnessing?
But that was everything you needed to see if you want Elysium to hold on. What an incredible chase by Ivan. almost enough to use all of Angel's power. I'm an Oni main. I know we had seconds left on that. That was possibly the last second we could pull up that bonk onto Ivan at that window. Ivan playing that newer tile almost to perfection. And then the flashlight save, incredible play. We see a third generator pop. Ivan has been healed. There will be a significant amount of blood from Xeno. Still bleeding. We are now chasing tech. We're trying to get fresh hooks. This is actually really smart by Angels. Angels knows, look, this is looking like I'm not going to get a 4K. I'm not getting a tunnel out. I have 2 fresh hooks. Let's get my fresh hooks on the board. Let's get to that end game where I can maybe camp someone out and get 6, 7, 8, 9 maybe hooks if I can get enough hits off here. We're going to apply Eruption to the main building generator. So much has been happening. I haven't even really been able to pay attention to what generators have been taken and what haven't. We're going to be chasing Zaka around behind main building. Zaka with that diabolical flashlight blinds the killer again, but that is enough blood to get the power. We're holding Sprint Burst. We're holding it, and we're going to get it off. That we'll be able to make one more rotation around this tank tread pallet. Can we juke back? We do. This pallet back here, and we get the reverse pallet stun, staying alive even longer. Zaka, not a lot to work with here. We might get a flick, and there's the flick. Zaka's gonna go down for the second time, but great reverse pallet stun there. That's not enough. Angels wants more. Angels is running the main building. We see the eruption aura. We see this is, I believe, that Xeno drops with the balance landing. We are gonna bounce off there. There cannot be a lot of power left. Can we get a flick? Can we get, oh no, not quite long enough, and Xeno does go down. That is going to be a fresh hook on Xeno. You can see on the HUD, 2 generators. That's 1 generator, sorry about the pop. That generator will pop before the pain res comes in. We have 2 survivors on the ground, 1 about to be hooked. This is very, very tense.
That must have been the absolute smallest fraction of power ever possibly left in that situation. Zaka going to be getting picked up and going onto this hook for his second hook right now. Angels should have some blood off the map. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, but Xeno has not been getting healed in time. Of course, he just got picked up. Zaka gets pulled immediately. I'm not surprised by that at all, but we do have this top side 3 gen right now. This could still pose problems to Ellie. Xeno gonna drop down, has the max distance around main with the balanced landing, and rightfully so. Angels does not want to mess around with that just yet. Gonna collect up all of his power right now. We see the reset should be coming out. Yeah, we can see it on our HUD. Reset coming out onto Zaka, so we're not playing a death hook injured survivor in the trial. That is ideal, but I believe that reset could not have been far. And yes, risky to go for a reset so close to these progress generators. Tech gonna get found right now and gonna take a tag on the edge map. Needs to go all the way bottom with this. Cannot afford to give a down top side. We simply cannot. There is no room for mistakes anymore. We're sitting on a very doable win condition right now. So long as Ellie doesn't give out more stages, we should be all good. Ivan immediately stealthing into the locker, has the head on around to play with, maybe setting up a little parlay with Xeno here. Not 100% sure. Angel's gonna kick this gen, apply eruption, has no real eyes on where our survivors are right now, needs to collect info and go along. Tech, no real time to reset. We need to be getting progress in these generators. Xeno, the only one who can comfortably work that top main generator with balanced landing, but it's just not going to be enough. Angels has his eyes set on somebody. I believe this should be Tech. Angel Tech being found here. No real opportunity to last in this chase. With this pallet down, very, very difficult to try to outplay it. So we can get a pick and we can get another hook in our 3 gen. Again, it's still very difficult for Elysium, but so long as they keep this under control, this is going to be still a playable result for Zaka. However, this hook on the backside of main being a Scourge hook is just so unlucky for them. These Angels is grinning ear to ear, seeing this. That is arguably the single best hook you can ever have when you are playing for this region as killer. And we kind of reached the point in the match now where Angels just has powers back to back to back and is able to put on so much pressure. Andrew, I'm not believing if we're for sure going to be seeing outs this game.
Yeah, this is very close. The survivors know essentially there's no point in resetting it. There's blood all over the map. There's no way. We are baiting out the head on, and we do get it. Oh my goodness, sorry, but we don't get it. We get the pull. I'm so sorry. It happened, and I was like, we got it from the killer's perspective. Baits out the head on. The head on doesn't come through. Ivan holds it just a second too long and gets grabbed out of the locker hooked by that generator with progress. This was looking so good at the start, and once again, Tech is going to go down. Edge map trying to work that generator. There are no pallets on the top side of the map at this point. There's no resources. Most of our survivors are injured. If Zaka gets found, if Ivan gets found, we are going to be in a very bad place. If we go down to a 3v1, if we can get to the 3v1, there is no way I don't think that we're going to see outs. This will be a 4K1. We come back upstairs to main building. Remember, Zeno being our balanced landing survivor, the only one who can safely work that main building. Speaking of Zeno gets the pick up on Tech, but goes down in the process. Are we going to take this hook? I think we will now that we're out of power, but there's so much blood on the map. Even if the survivors were to heal at this point, there's no point. We're going to get that hook. We're going to slurp up some of that blood. We know there's a bunch of blood on the opposite side of the map here across main. There's probably some blood upstairs in main as well. We can see the pre-leaving here, but this 3-gen is a ridiculously tight 3-gen. You can hear they've got some decent progress on the map. Oh, he's trying to bait out a potential head-on there again. I think we saw Ivan was the one who actually ran away. Does Angel see something I don't? Yeah, here it is. This is Ivan. Oh, those, as an Oni main, I will tell you, those cylindrical wire spools have a really weird hitbox, even for experienced Onis. We're gonna get we're coming after Zeno. We get the down, and we are gonna see our first kill. Volka's. I think you're right. I think we don't get out of this.
I was going to say we may have a chance at a 4K0. Our saving grace is that we still have 4 bodies left alive, 4 survivors left alive on the map. But of course, I'm glad I didn't say that for the caster curse in the grand finals. But now again, this is the eternal Oni loop we are right now. Oni, when he is in power, is arguably an S tier killer, arguably the strongest chase power in the game. He has so much going for him, insane map pressure, insane chase potential. There's just not much you can do as survivor, and when you're in the situation where the Oni has infinite blood, there is not much to be done. However, wait a minute, Tech serving as a distraction right now. Look at Ivan's gen. Look at Ivan's gen. We can at least get the 4K0. We can at least try to get the 4K0 here. That would be huge. Ivan sneaks up behind. Can he force the lock? Doesn't even play to force the lock. Angels leaves this. Sees both survivors there and just leaves. Once the 4K0, does no one Tech to be working this gate for free? I'm not sure how I feel about this decision.
Tech is 2 hooks. Tech is your best target at this point. That's the other reason.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Now Tech is able to get away from the situation, though. No more power right now. It's going to take a few seconds to at least be able to get the power back online. And those are seconds that in endgame you do not have as the killer. Angels needs to get this down, probably end slug onto Ivan, and we can see that we know what he wants. Zaka is there to try to help out. Can he take a hit for him in time? Ivan managed to get into this locker, but I think he sacrificed himself there for our other 2 survivors to get out. So that is going to be, oh my god, what even is that? Is that 10 stages? 9-4?
9. Tech gets out with 2. Zaka gets out with 1. That's going to be 9-4. That is a really good result, but the way things were looking, props to Team Elysium for pulling that off as well. That was so close. Doubling that last generator while baiting with Tech was exactly what they needed. And then, frankly, that end game, great job by Tech to not get spotted. It's so scary. The way things went, their most valuable player, Tech, had to do the door. You don't want you want that person to be able to stealth. They couldn't do it. Tech gets out. We see Ivan jump in front of the bullet to take the down. 9 hooks, 4 fresh. What a phenomenal game. I don't know who's ahead at this point, but Rob, why don't you and the analysts talk about what happened and what we need to see from Zaka in their killer match?
All righty. Thank you very much for that, Andrew and Vocals. And yeah, what an exciting match, right? This turned from a potential 4K1 to 9 stages 4 fresh as the end result. So a lot of really interesting and quite frankly, insane moments this match that I think deserve to be talked about. Let's start with you, Arya. I think the most notable was probably Yvonne's first and mid-game chases. Those were definitely very clutch for Team Elysium and really helped out. I mean, other players definitely had some really solid chases that were really impactful to the match, but I think the most notable was definitely Yvonne's first and his mid-game chase.
Yeah, when you're an Oni player looking to get that first tag of the game, Angels had to hear boss music a little bit when your first M1 chase is against Yvonne. And that was for good reason. We saw Vaughn with a masterclass of a chase, having a decently strong filler that unfortunately still is not completely safe on cross ping, but able to chain that into the pallet gem, avoid first tag, and then set his team up to kind of juggle angels around the map at the start. That was beautifully played. But even more importantly, that power chase mid game that led into the flashlight save, that was just beautiful from Yvonne. We had the Ormond Lake Mine tile, the snake gem as some people call it, that is incredibly hard to run. I know some people call it jiggy tile because you just kind of have to pull things, like pull cards out from your sleeve to just make a chase last there. And Yvonne did that beautifully, to the point that we almost ran Angels out of power. And I want to add on to that, there's also the dual chases with Xeno and Zaka when Angels was in power that also almost had such a big effect on the game. If they just lasted a few more seconds and Angels ran out of power, that would have left Elysium in an amazing spot. And it's these repeat chases that almost ran Angels out of power but ended in a down that kind of set the tone for Elysium for the rest of the match.
Yeah, expert analysis there from you, Arya. And you, to segue from this into the next point that I wanted to bring up here, you mentioned that, of course, it's Angels must have heard Boss music when his first M1 chase was against Yvonne, right? Rich, I wanted to ask you the importance of having a good understanding and good fundamentals on M1 chase, and of course later in the match against an Oni in power. Can you kind of talk to us about the importance of both of these things and having an understanding of them?
Yeah, certainly everybody heard boss music at that point. Turns out, though, it was actually coming from Angels. It was Angels' terror radius, you could say, because wow, Angels really showed up and showed out in Chase, both in terms of the M1 and the power. Just a lot of clutch moments. Angels really showing, of course, expert use of just movement tech on different tiles, and the cross ping familiarity coming from Angels is very, very important in these kind of NA to EU sets, and just played perfectly in that regard. And then in power, we saw multiple flicks that I think, after the Oni kind of turn radius buff on the lunge, people would think are impossible, but Angels truly just making it look easy at a couple different points in that match. And as Arya mentioned, it was so close to running out of power both times. You really need to get those hits in order to keep momentum in your favor. Um, so I think Angels just played out of his mind, as he's been doing really all day.
Yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, I mean, Angels has been doing phenomenally on Killer's side, of course, and on Surfer side as well. It has to be mentioned, right? But at the moment, the current point of contention is the fact that Angels' killer mechanics were quite strong. Now, I do want to say that I think that there was a certain moment that had it not happened, the 4K1 or 4K0 would have been ultimately set in stone, right? There was one moment where Zaka was able to pull off a pretty phenomenal flashlight save that really set the tone of the match back into the court of Elysium. That really put the ball back in Elysium's court there. So why don't you talk to us about the importance of that and how much it must have affected Elysium's mental?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were over here jumping out of our seats in the analyst desk because of how exciting that kind of mid game was. Really, Elysium kind of showed that they are unwilling to take a step back in terms of their aggression. They're going to be out there making these plays, whether it's the first set of the match, or if they're at risk of elimination here now in the Joker set. That flashlight save from Zaka, it's something we don't see all that often in DBD League, and for great reason, because if Angels sniffed that out, we could have seen, an even worse result, 4K2 territory at that point. And fortunately for Angels, that didn't happen. Elysium was able to get a couple stages out the door, and it was 100% thanks to that flashlight save. And it's important as well to call out that when they set that up, it can be very telegraphed. That's part of the reason that it's high risk is, Angels gets that down right next to a wall, and Ivan actually has to crawl in order for that flashlight save to come in at all, so that Zaka can get it. But the crawling was in a direction that was subtle enough, and it's these tiny tiny things, subtle enough that Angels did not actually play around the flashlight save, at least not enough to counter it entirely. So yeah, huge turning point in that match, and for sure the reason that they got a couple stages out the door.
Yeah, very, very true, very true. Expertly said, even honestly, Rich. I do think that that's a really important point to bring up because honestly, I feel like it definitely positively affected Elysium's mental there in that game. They really needed a big moment for them to kind of bring things back. So I think it was definitely worth mentioning that. Now, on the flip side of things, I think there was also another moment that kind of brought the ball into Angel's court, actually, and it was a mistake from the Survivor side of Elysium, actually. Arya, I think we all noticed this happening, right? Zeno trying to jiggy away from the eye tile and unfortunately getting stuck on a totem or a box or something, honestly. How do you think that really impacted the match?
Yeah, there's a bit of lag from what we heard on Zeno's Survivor end, and he wanted to run away from that eye tile. I think they recognized they were using too many strong resources before the Oni even got a hit, so they needed to keep something up so that when the Oni was in power, they had decent tiles to play. So Zeno, trying to valiantly move away from the eye tile, tried to use some other tile, maybe the window set up at 3 to his advantage. Unfortunately, getting tagged, giving Angels the gateway into the Oni set that they might not have had. It looks like it could have been a low stage game at that point, so just very unfortunate.
Very true, very true. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and pass it back over to the casters so they can take us into potentially, but not decisively, the last set of the night here with Zaka on the Oni. Go ahead and take it away here, Volkos and Andrew.
We are in. Thank you very much, Rob. We're in Zaka needing 10 hooks. So we're looking at basically a 4K. We need what is essentially a 4K here for Zaka to keep Team Elysium alive, to keep their championship, their back-to-back championship alive. We took a few chases, a few looks at some survivors down there by main building, but decided to come back down. Surprisingly, unusually, Coal Tower tends to have very strong top side, main building side gen setups. There are 3 generators that are playable, the 3 corrupt generators by main building, but there are 4 pretty tight generators down by Shack. So Zaka has a little bit of options here, but we're gonna need to start a chase soon. Not only do we need to get a quick hit, we gotta find a quick survivor. Looks like we see Wispy making their way down towards Shack. The survivor's playing this very slowly. Sounds like I was trying to hear, didn't seem like there was any generator progress there. Are the survivors waiting out corrupt Volkas?
What am I witnessing right now? As
Wild.
they've shown their rotation, so I don't believe they're waiting out corrupt perchance, but they're definitely trying to buy some time in the early game here and do that they can. Wispy, did she just medium Volta right in front of his face and get away with it? Okay, well, not for long. Right, it's all up to Zaka now to keep Elysium alive in DBD League Grand Finals. The most decorated player in DBD League history needs to put the team on his back and get at least 10 stages in this result. That is a lot to ask for an Oni at this level. We have to remember last time it was only 6 stages, and that was already a difficult enough game for him. So here, now we can see Corrupt has run out. We need Blood for a power. We need, if he greets for this M1 down and doesn't get it, that might simply be the end here today. We do not have a Bamboozle like Angels to help us in the chases. We have to just base it off of our M1 mechanics. Only the Ormond tile here to play around, so shouldn't be too bad. But Wispy makes the Shack pallet, and surely you just have to leave this now. The Corrupt is out. They're going to start getting pressure on top. Even if you're playing for bottom gens, this is so difficult. Zaka, stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, has to play around this filler pallet, zone it away maybe from the window from Shack. He's able to do so, but another great filler pallet here, great RNG for X9 Survivor side. Wispy doing a fantastic job in this chase, and Zaka is really greeting for this M1 down. First gen will pop. Note comes in for the hit tank. Zaka, I think at this point, Andrew, Zaka knows that he needs to play for a full snowball and is trying to look for it.
He's definitely doing what he needs. There are so many of these strong pallets on this map. Behavior. Let's take a look at these rock pallets, please. Respectfully, there are so many strong pallets on Macmillan, and we're seeing it here on Coal Tower. So many of those God Rocks that just, surprisingly, Zaka leaves them. I mean, we don't want to get bloodlusted around it. As you said, we greeted hard for this M1 down, and we get it, but how much did it cost us? Looking at the rock, I'm a little sketchy. Looking in at the map there as opposed to away. A flashlight save would have been the end of the tournament right there. That would have been the end of the season if that had been a flashlight save. We look towards the rock as opposed to away from it. We will get a pain res in at 4 gens. The one saving grace for Zaka right now is that the generators, they were very slow to touch the generators at the start. We did take chase on Wispy down the other end of the map, but no one else had really touched the generator. So that was a long M1 chase, but also there wasn't a lot. I don't think Zaka knew, but there wasn't any gen progress on the map at all. We just saw Jaw get away, no scratch marks around, so we aren't able to see them anywhere. Coming back over to try and find who unhooked and where they went. You can see the scratch marks going back towards the main building side. Wispy knowing exactly where they need to go. Now, we did bleed Wispy a lot, so even if this power doesn't amount to a down, there may still be enough blood on the map for power. But it's not just blood we gotta worry about. Good flick there on Wispy for Zaka to take down our second hook here. It's not just about the blood, it's also about the time. So even though we may get power, if we don't get downs in time, if we don't get enough pressure in time, the generators will pop, the survivors will escape, and X9 will win season 11. We're gonna come back over here, pick up some blood, and try and put pressure here. Volker's, I don't. Maybe Zaka's got something in their head.
I feel like Zaka needs to have an ace up his sleeve. He would not have greeted for that M1 down in the beginning of the game if he didn't have some sort of plan, something to do so. Wispy seems to be running right into Zaka, but he can easily get body blocked here away from making the main window. Isn't able to do it all the way, however, and vaults that window. Quick and quiet being used. Zaka should know that this is going to be just quick and quiet head on, so doesn't have to worry about that for the tunnel out chase. Ja here to take a hit against the Oni. This is a great sign of confidence from X9. If you're taking a hit against the Oni, you surely must have a lot of gen progress to back it up. I expect to see at least 2 generators pop after this down onto Wispy. Beautiful job there by Wispy to drop that pallet in time and be away from the action. However, right near to an active gen right now, we have another one of these filler pallets. Oh my god, X9 so blessed with the RNG this match, and now Zaf is here to take it down for Wispy. We are fully entrusting our tournament continuation life here on Wispy. Ja has been reset in the background. Wispy needs to continue running this power. If they fully outrun this power, the future is looking very, very bleak for Zaka. Realistically has one more chance to try to win here. Wispy is able to outplay it ever so slightly. It doesn't connect by a millisecond, and that's going to be the power out. Heartbreak, absolute heartbreak on the side of Elysium. One missed flick might be all it takes. It's not over yet. There is blood on the map. We can't count them out, but there's no real easy gen setups to play. There's no tunnel out in mind right now. Look at this gen spread that they could have. We need to keep this bottom gen alive if we have any hope of getting these high stages that we need here, Andrew.
Not tunneling out Wispy, obviously we tried, but not getting the tunnel out is devastating for Zaka. That last flick, I was sitting here, again, the HUD doesn't entirely show. Look at the pressure on this generator, that's a 95. The HUD doesn't fully show how much blood we have, how much power we have left. We have a little bit more blood here in main building on this vault. That should be enough to get us, I think, to get us power. There it is, okay. But not getting that tunnel out, Wispy has been successfully saved. I mean, the reality is we don't need, oh, good pallet throw by Ja. We don't need to get a 4K. We don't need to get a tunnel out, but obviously the more survivors on the board, the longer they keep people alive, the more gens they're gonna be able to get done. Ja doing a really good job using this 4 lane, able to avoid going down just back and forth. These 4 lanes can be very hard for Oni to manage in power as long as you're being unpredictable, and it's happening. Ja finally going down. Sorry, got a little stop there, but we got it. Finally going down. We get eruption on this nearby generator. This is going to be a pain res if we can find a hook on this hill. This is a weird hook. At the beginning of the match, this might have been a great place for a hook, but as it stands now, this is just out of the way for Zaka to go. We need to get more power. You can see a lot of blood behind main building here. If we get enough power, maybe we snowball Volkus?
What needs to happen right now is Zaka needs to start gambling. I'm sorry, he has no leg to stand on here. He needs to pop this power, pray he doesn't get stealthed, and stop any potential gen progress on the bottom side of the map. That generator by the shack must be near popping. I wouldn't be surprised if X9 tried very, very hard to pop it. It is, oh, it's so close. It's a good 80% of the way there. We're going to have that pop eruption in hand, so everything is fine right now. Everything is fine, but this is probably the last power Zaka can get for free. So, are we going to be able to find... They're not sending an unhook while the Oni is in power. There's absolutely no way that's happening. As I said, Zaka needs to gamble and not get stealth, and that is exactly what's happening. One of the reasons you never want to pop Oni power without information is that this is one thing that can happen. Zaka now is betting that they've already have a survivor here, stealthing for the unhook. We do find Wispy! Wispy the tunnel out, we need to convert this, last chance! No, the power runs out just in time! Zaka, absolute frustration from Zaka right now, but there is still time. Maybe if we can get it down to a 3v1, even if they pop that generator on the bottom side, maybe it's still okay. Jago second stage, there was no one else ready in time to rotate. Wait! Everybody, hold your horses. This could be Ellie getting back in the game right now. Zaka needs to convert.
Oh my goodness, Wispy's a cat. 9 lives, Wispy. What is happening here? Wispy just ran out of lives. Sorry, Wispy. Caster curse. We are going to get the tunnel out here at 3 gens left, but there is a ton of gen progress. You got to know that they probably have some more gen progress that they traded Jaw's second hook for. We see the eruption aura here on the Shack gen. Listen to it crank. We're going to not even wait for eruption. We're just going to pop Ghost Weasel and carry on. Now, unfortunately, because we didn't get the unhook on Jaw, Jaw is now in danger. If we can, obviously we don't want to drop pressure here, but at any point, if we can get Jaw off the map, this could be what Elysium needs to get back in. Big swing on the medium bolt back. Note gives up power. That topside generator, sorry, that middle generator does pop, but that generator does not matter. If we can hold these 3 bottom gens and get more downs, more regression, pain reds, pop, eruption on these bottom generators, we may be able to sustain just long enough in order to maintain and win this match. We can hear 2 injured survivors upstairs here, I think.
Jaw!
And one, Jaw dropped and Jaw is dead! Jaw is dead!
What is happening?
Jaw is dead! There's no way they have enough gen progress to make this count! Now, unless Zavis and the injured Note can manage to pop 2 generators and get people out the gate, this is going to prolong. The grand final continues. Elysium has used their wild card, their Joker card, their get out of jail free card, and potentially, unless something wild happens, has stayed alive. And the real question about this book is this the momentum swing that they needed to come back? They cannot, they have no lives left. They must win every single set from now on. Is this enough?
Before I even answer that, I have another question I would like to propose out specifically to the members of X9. Why are we not doing gens? What happened? There was so much time. I mean, I love the shift of momentum for Elysium. I want to see them have a good chance in the grand final. I want this to go all the way. But damn, that is frustrating to watch. They are able to get right back into this game right now. And Zaka, it's pretty much a formality at this point. We have the 2v1, but as long as we can keep one survivor in our crosshair, this should just be a guaranteed kill, and there's really not much Note can do to stop it. Great attempts there from a juke by Note, but that is going to be the power running out. The eruption aura has been seen, and our survivors know we're in 2v1. There's no way. 4K2 for Zaka to keep Ellie in the tournament, right where they needed it most. Zaka, the monster, on his signature killer, is here to keep the team alive. Beautiful.
And like, Zaka, known for Oni. Zaka, back against the wall. That is exactly what you needed. Like, if you needed a mental switch, right there it is. Zaka had a middling at best result on Oni in the first time around, and needed this momentum shift. Elysium played really well on Survivor, but honestly, the result looked rough, and they managed to 4K2 on Oni. Zaka, I'm sure, is feeling top of the world. Hopefully that can reflex. Hopefully that reaction can pass on to their team, and Elysium can bounce back. Rob, I'm sure you guys have a lot to say. What a crazy match. Take it away. We're moving on to Dredge after this, folks.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Andrew and Vokas. And yes, this Joker card was absolutely undoubtedly necessary for Elysium to take back a win and move us further into the grand finals. We are not getting a clean sweep. Elysium is back and ready to roll into the grand finals further on and show X9 they are not here to get destroyed. They are a formidable team, and there is a lot to talk about with my analysts here. So let's go ahead and break it down really quick. First, starting with you, Arya. I'm sure there's a ton to talk about. I mean, I can't simply just pose a question here, and there's just far too much to talk about. So please give me your breakdown of why this was such a big, pivotal moment for Elysium.
Yeah, I think Rich can agree. Like, it felt like there's a distinct lack of gen progression from X9 that entire game. I mean, when we're talking about an M1 killer playing for an M1 down in first chase, the first chase lasting ages without the down happening. We expect 3 gens to pop. I thought we would be at 2 gens before the first down even happened. It was taking so long, and yet we saw 1 gen pop, 1 singular gen pop. And that was it from X9 for a while. It wasn't even until I think we secured the death hook, we got a second hook onto Wispy before that even happened. Like, I'm kind of interested in Rich's take on this.
Yeah, I think that there's a good reason, especially later in the game, for us to not have seen gens pop. Earlier in the game, I'm really not sure. Like early in the game, as you said, we should be down to 2 gens by the time that first down comes in. Later in the game, Zaka did have a key moment where, uh, as Volkas said while casting, you got to take a risk, and that risk is popping power with nobody in your line of sight and really no idea where anybody is, nobody near you. The survivors punished that in a way. I mean, they stealthed away that power, and that's all well and good. But at the same time, it's not denying the pressure of Ja being on hook in that corner of the map. And I think they just played too conservatively, is my estimation, in both the early game and in that stage of the game. You know, they could have at least been getting a tiny bit of progress on that rock gen near Shack, or really any of the bottom side gens while Zaka was in power. But instead, they just made the decision to full stealth the power until eventually Wispy was found and Ja went second stage, and I think it was just wraps from there.
I mean, quite frankly, without the Joker card, this was almost for certain a clean sweep from X9. But now, with the Joker card in play, we have seen Elysium make a small comeback, and potentially with a partition between the flashlight save from Zaka and Zaka's performance on the Oni, Elysium might have gotten their second wind in this matchup and have now a chance to come back and take wins on this matchup and maybe even come to match point themselves versus X9, as we are up currently 3-1 in this matchup as of the moment. Technically 4-1, but since the Joker card kind of resets a match, we now are up to 3-1. So now Elysium has their opportunity to bring this back. Now, of course, I've got to ask, because now we went from not like no possibility of seeing the remaining matches to now at least being guaranteed the dredge set. Do we think there's an opportunity for Elysium to take this dredge set as well? Because they need to be on a ball, on the roll here, winning sets back to back in order to stay in this tournament for more than
Yeah.
just the dredge set. Do we think that the Elysium stands a chance?
Yeah, I think after that performance, Rob, I think they 100% stand a chance, and maybe even more of than just a chance, because both of these teams, I mean, we've seen it in their performances even against each other. The 3-0 sweeps both in the round robin and the elimination portions of the tournament, and I think that this momentum is just such a big factor for these two teams in particular, that I could realistically see a reverse sweep. And if a reverse sweep happens, Arya, it would be the most legendary comeback without a doubt that we've ever seen in Comp DBD.
Yeah, but this is going to kind of come down to the wild card that is the dredge set, because if I'm not mistaken, we haven't seen much dredge from either of these teams this season. At least from X9, I know we had Ja playing dredge against Umbrella. We talked about that 4K4 happening, and it's like we've yet to see if that was just like a one-off situation where Ja just locked in and made it happen, or if that's going to be something that consistently happens. Is Ja him on the dredge? Like, we don't know. So I just am so curious to see how this dredge set is going to play out, and if this is the chance for Ellie to fully lock in and make a comeback. And I mean, if there's a set you want to be locked on, it needs to be the dredge. Comms need to be precise. Everything needs to be perfect for this set. So I'm just hoping that to make this grand finals more interesting, that Ellie is fully locked for this.
Very true, very true. Yes. And with that being said, of course, it's worth it to mention that when Dredge was first introduced to comp, and for a couple of years afterwards, the expectations for Dredge was usually like 4K1, 4K2. Very, very high results being set by our killer players. And as of recently, the very best teams have started getting outs on Dredge a little bit more consistently. So now that we have Jaw on the Dredge, a bit of an you know, a killer player we haven't seen on Dredge too much. It's usually been Angels, if I'm not mistaken. But now with Jaw on Dredge, there's definitely something to be seen here. But ladies and gentlemen, I am yapping far too much. We have casters who are here to take over this exact moment. So please take it away, Volkas and Andrew.
Most certainly, Rob, with pleasure. We do find Xeno right now in our very first chase. We were having a bit of a standoff earlier with Doc. This is a very, very unsafe situation to be in, though, and tags on Dredge are very important. Dredge is one of those killers that relies so heavily on the 3v1. It's kind of like Blight. The moment you go into the 3v1, it's where the killer really shines. So it's going to be very important for Elysium to delay the 3v1 as much as possible, to stop these early game tags from coming through. This pallet has spawned. It is technically outplayable, but Ja is not going to bother with that. He will just simply take it and leave. Try to look for an easier tag somewhere. Good early games from far by Elysium. They need to keep this up. And again, stay in that 4v1. We have the Dragon's Grip, so we need to be mindful about it. It has been brought on Dredge before, so they should know it is a possibility. And currently, since there is no survivor injured, nobody can safely take that Dragon's Grip on. Now, we find another generator. We have the Eruption ready to go on it, but it doesn't seem we want to commit for a tag here again. And Ja playing very much around a potential difficulty in comms or coordination from Elysium, trying to catch somebody off guard. Andrew, do you think this plan will carry X9 into success?
This is I mean, nothing has happened yet, so it's hard to say how it's going to play out. Zaka predicting the, of course, as soon as I say nothing's happened, Zaka predicting the teleport to the locker, doubles back, but unfortunately takes the M1. We're going to get the vault there. This is a pretty standard start to a Dredge match. The question is, how well does it play? Pretty standard. You bounce around. I mean, I was talking about this last week, I think, or recently anyway. I forget which exactly which match it was, but somebody was going for just like regular, normal chases on Dredge rather than this bounce around. What Jaw is doing is exactly what I want to see on Dredge. We take a hit on Zaka, we teleport, we kick a generator, we teleport, we take a hit on Ivan. Check it out. We got 2 injuries. Now Nightfall happens. This is where the power really starts. And as you can see there, another hit on Xeno. This is exactly what you want to see. And it's bouncing around. This is exactly what you want to see from Dredge. This is textbook Dredge play. Jaw is playing fantastic. And just like that, 4 injured survivors in Nightfall. Terrifying situation to be in Midwich Elementary School. Bouncing around, trying to find, and it looks like we found a reset. They actually managed to get the reset out on Ivan, which is kind of huge, although it does end up, I don't know how long it will last. It will depend how well we play this palette here. This is a kind of a unfortunate situation. Yeah, waiting, and the hit comes through. First generator does pop, though, during Nightfall, so good for them. No downs yet, but the survivors are in very dangerous situation here, Volkas. If we don't, go ahead. If we don't do something, if we're not very careful, this could turn to a very bad situation, like Doc is about to find out.
It for sure is going to turn ugly for Doc right now, who is not able to force the locker. We're scared of a bit of a snowball happening, it seems, but I think, yeah, Jai is just interested in getting the first hook on the board. And yeah, tags for Dredge are so important. I'm really glad to bring that up, especially simply because also Ja is running the Tilling Blade add-on. For those of you that do not know, it pretty much acts like a mini Sloppy Butcher while in Nightfall. If you get hit by an M1 from the Dredge during Nightfall, you get applied the Mangled and Hemorrhage status effects here. Oh my god, we spawn right in front of Xeno. We don't really have enough time to double back. Getting out of this locker, is he going to play for the trade onto Doc? No, he doesn't have the space to, really can't confirm it, so he's going to keep running. And Zan knows that somebody needs to come from the sideline to try to get it. Zaka is there, and now we're going to have this back and forth. But while we are doing this back and forth, that's 3 survivors out of the equation. Even if Ivan is also here as well. So actually every single member of Team Elysium is here trying to help get this unhook, and it's not going to be easy. We need to get this for free. In order to not get snowballed, we need to get this for free, because also the more time we spend with injuries on the board, the faster that Nightfall charges up, and that makes it even harder for our survivors to get away from this. But we can't let Doc go second stage. Even if we send the trade, we cannot let Doc go second stage. We don't have enough gen progress. Our survivors have been far too stopped here, but we don't. I think that hook might be body blocked. I think that's why Zaka is not sending it in. I think, yeah, there's no possible in Doc now
Not
going
over,
second
but
stage.
Doc
No, of
was
course.
second, yeah.
Yeah, but definitely not over by any means. But now Ivan is in chase. Doc has been farmed off of that hook like a carrot. It's going to be difficult. Now Jar can, he can just go back and try to get this tunnel out, and we need to help Doc. If we have tunnel out at 3, there is a good chance we are looking at a 4K2 result, which is not something that Elysium is going to accept.
This is the time where something has to happen. Doc, Doc, guys, we're gonna need to get Doc a tour of this elementary school at some point, because this is the first on the on-rail and now on dredge. We seem to be caught flat-footed, and that's gonna be the death on Doc at 2 generators left. Both earlier on the on-rail set and now on the dredge set twice. We've kind of not quite sure where the killer's coming from. Maybe not super comfortable on this map or versus these stealth killers. But yeah, that's that time again. Earlier on the on-rail map, we were upstairs and got spotted in the middle of the hallway. Basically gave a free down, and wasn't exactly free that last time. But Doc seems a little bit unsure on the elementary school, and unfortunately is dead at 2 gens left. Now the question is, can the survivor? Great, solid remnant play there by Jaw. Sorry, yeah, by Jaw. The question is, can Zaka and Ivan get another generator done? Can these 3 survivors get another generator done? I'm actually a little bit surprised we're seeing a hook, but I think Jaw just knows there's not a lot of gen progress on the map. But yeah, I'm a little surprised to see that. We need to get one more generator done to give our killer a chance to tie this for it, because otherwise we're looking at, as quickly as we came back in the Oni match, we could be facing the end of the tournament once again. Back to hook. Here we go, Volkus.
Yeah, it's so difficult for Ren right now. I can't imagine their position they're in mentally. Did we touch dragons? Oh no. Oh no, we can't give this. Ivan needs to outlast. He has no pallet here. He needs to make a miracle happen right now. If we give it down from dragons, that's going to be 4K2 on the spot. There's pretty much no way. And the reason Dredge is such a monster in the 3v1 is because you can't really do anything about him. He has so much map pressure. He can be everywhere all at once. And now Zaka having to come in to take a protection here is not ideal either, because then that's another injury. We're barreling towards another Nightfall, and then now there is no more altruism available. Only Van is healthy. We find Juno on this pallet, plays for the stun, and gets hit right through the pallet. The reason Ja didn't slug earlier is because we didn't have any other injuries on the board, and it seems he's taking the death hook on Xeno. If we're able to get a reset, maybe something can happen, but I honestly do not know how we're going to be able to get a reset without at least being found quickly. Yeah, that is what happens. Zaka and Ivan in the same room right now. We have managed to split apart a little bit, but now, again, Ivan not in the best position ever. Manages to greet that pallet beautifully. Is he going to make it to this next one? Does he greet it again? No, he interrupts the teleport, actually, with the pallet stun. That's a good use of time to allow Zaka those extra few precious seconds to get this unhooked, but he's not there in time. That is absolutely tragic, not being able to get this unhook for free. We can't afford to give tags for this unhook. It's not possible. And going into the 2v1 is just as much of a problem. There is really no right answer for the survivors of Elysium right now. I think we might need to bet on another Zaka miracle.
Oh!
Wait! No! Ja left without confirming that Zaka was actually gone. We get the pull. It's so not over. We are so back. Zaka, Xeno takes the VT hit, and now Zaka is the one being committed. We want these injuries. Remember, if you're Dredge, injuries are so important right now. Yes, you say, Volkus, there is a death hook Xeno right there. We do not care. We need injuries, so then we can start slugging and slowballing. All this time, Ivan could have been on a Gen 2, so 4K1 could be possible, could be in the cards. Ivan is here, though, cannot afford to give a tag, and now Nightfall is online. Now, it's gonna be do or die. If Elysium can survive this Nightfall, there is a chance to pop another gen. If not, I'm afraid the game might just be over, Andrew.
That unhook was remarkable in the sense that we let it happen. It wasn't so much that Zaka's timing was perfect, but the fact that Ja gave the opening, trading there was just not possible. There is one problem though. I was gonna say Ivan hasn't touched that generator yet. Just touched the generator because the Dragon's Grip goes off. But Xeno is dead. Xeno is dead, and the thing is, we know that generator. We're gonna go for it anyway. We don't even need to go for this generator. We are, and that is Dragon's Grip down. And there's only one man standing in Zaka on the bill right now, with only 50% left on that generator. Done on that generator. This is looking like 4K2. It is in fact. Unless Jaw falls asleep, this will be a 4K2, which will be a very difficult win condition and an even harder, like it'll be a hard tie condition, an even harder win condition. 4K2 for Jaw. Okay, this is beatable. This is tieable, but I want to go back to what we did see on Unreal real quick. Zaka just ran it like a normal match. Zaka ran Onryo like it was, oh hum, I'm an M1 killer. If we don't see a change in strategy from Zaka, assuming Zaka plays Dredge, if we see standard chases from their Dredge player, this is over.
Zaka, I'm happy to inform you, Outcast Andrew here, that Zaka, and I'm using your full name for a reason, not only does Zaka play Dredge, Zaka dominates on Dredge. Zaka is one of the best Dredge players in the world, that is for certain. The survivor side of Dredge, I believe, is what might have stopped Ellie from picking this for their tournament live here, DBD Season 11, because I think this might be the first time they have had to play the Dredge set. Not 100% sure on that, but yes, Zaka is an absolute monster on the Dredge. But yeah, 4K2 is a very, very difficult tie condition, and again, it's all on the back of Zaka. What I want to talk about for a moment, if you'd allow me, is the fact that Xeno did not force that locker in the courtyard and just took the down at the end game there. If he had forced that locker, maybe we have had a chance, and I'm sure our analysts agree with me. So Rob, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Volkas and Andrew. And yeah, let's go ahead and break down what happened this match, because there's quite a bit to talk about, of course, with a 4K2 win, result being on the line here. Now, first and foremost, I wanted to ask you, Rich, about the body block situations on Midwich, since there are quite a few different hooks on the map that can really put your survivors at risk of not being able to get the unhook very effectively, like we saw when Doc wins second stage. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, 100%. That situation that we saw early in that game where the second stage came in onto Doc is really not possible for a lot of maps that we see in DBD. And so Midwich kind of offers a very unique read that the killer can take advantage of, and Josh certainly did there, of course, with the help of other members of the team that are well versed in killer, which is that they've only got one person coming in, and if they've only got one person coming in, you can block that deterministically. You can force the fact that an unhook trade is not going to come in onto Doc to prevent that second stage. Ja and his team 100% read that and got handsomely rewarded for it. And later in the game, unfortunately for them, it came back to bite them in a way where they could have prevented an unhook, but didn't actually clutch that one out. So they got a slightly worse result for it.
Absolutely, yeah, I do fully agree with that. And yeah, it's a very important thing to mention, especially because, on the survivor side of things, when you're playing, of course, you want to mention, hey, this hook is body blockable. It's going to be important that we send in two people to kind of come around from both sides and play for this. Otherwise, I'm going second, and then that's something that needs to be mentioned when it comes to these unhook situations, right? I did want to pass it over to you, Arya, and ask you a question, because we mentioned it earlier. When Dredge first came out, it was a pretty much guaranteed 4K situation against Dredge, and more often than not, most teams would be getting 4K'd, and no matter how well you played, it was just a new killer that most players didn't really understand too well, and well, at least they didn't understand the macro of the set, really. They understood the chase power, but the macro wasn't fully understood at the time, and over time, the results kind of started going closer to outs. Can you kind of talk to me about how that compares to Elysium's performance today?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Dredge set slowly get figured out. It was something on Midwich. I remember how amazed people were back in Season 9 of DBDL when Dredge really started to get his intro to comp. It was like, oh my gosh, Bubbo Dredge 4K'ing or Zaka Dredge is playing out of their mind, but now that we're all the way in season 11 at this point, 2 years later, it's slowly started to decline, and dredge sets have kind of been figured out. Teams have realized, okay, we have to put resources into preventing the tunnel out. We have to have a bit of duo play to get rid of remnants at times. We just need to make sure that we slam gens at the start, and it looked like Elysium had that start. Like, the first tag took a little bit of time to come in. We had 50% on almost 3 separate gens. It looked like Elysium was going to have that textbook modern dredge game where it's like, okay, at the end of the day, we still managed to get maybe 8 stages or 9 stages, but we still got outs. And then the injuries started piling up, and it gave me such big flashbacks to old dredge where it's like, okay, suddenly the killer's getting injuries. We have the sloppy butcher add on to that, and all of a sudden this becomes less of a 4v1, and it feels like more of an every man for himself scenario, because it felt effortless the way Jaw was just passing between survivors in a 4v1, not a 3v1, in a 4v1, and putting all of them out of commission for reset during the first use of Nightfall. And I think it's for that reason that Ellie's performance left a lot to be desired and ended with a 4K2.
Absolutely, yeah. All great talking points, honestly, and I think that it's really, really necessary to point these things out, right? Now, when it comes to the presence of Dragon's Grip, do you think that really has an effect on the overall result and it declining more recently, or was it more so just this match?
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about Dragon's Grip because it's been a perk that's kind of been unique this season. We've seen it somewhat in the past on certain sets, but during this season, it feels like every set has been a Dragon's Grip set. And at first, I kind of questioned it being used because at the start, we had the gen kick onto the courtyard gen during the chase with Xeno, and it felt kind of out of place. And I think Xeno read immediately, okay, that's a Dragon's Grip kick. Like, I can't touch that gen for a short time. And I thought Dragon's Grip was going to end there. I thought for the set, it was not going to get any value. It was going to be, oh, Ellie read it at the start. They're unbelievably locked in. The comms are good. And then, like I said before, the mid to late game, it just started piling up. We had the Dragon's Grip proc onto, I think it was a Vaughn twice, leading us into Dragon's Grip downs. And that's just something that we can't have against Dredge. Like, Dragon's Grip, this game kind of did a 180 where at first it felt like kind of a waste of a perk slot when the serves just read it immediately. But then when they were under pressure and had to start touching the gens that were Dragon's Grip just to keep the pressure on Jaw, it really started to shine and show why it's been run on almost every teleport set this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we also saw it earlier on the Honoro set as well. So it's pretty much it's pretty much with it's pretty much to be expected on Dredge as well, right? They're very similar sets. We've talked about it earlier as well. They function quite similarly. So it's kind of an expectation to see Dragon's Grip on Dredge as well. So yeah, definitely worth it to mention that, right? I mean, we saw the results of getting value out of Dragon's Grip. It's definitely a very strong perk to have in play. So yeah, I think it's a great thing to mention, honestly. And to kind of swing things back over to you, Rich, I wanted to pose a question over to you about Jaw because in the past Jaw has been kind of a heavy hitter survivor player for a lot of NA teams like Petroleum in the past, like Ascent and now X9 of course. But recently we have seen Jaw kind of take up the mantle of playing killer on Spirit, Dracula, and most recently Dredge. Can you kind of talk to me about how over time he's really become a very strong killer player?
Yeah, absolutely. And Jaw even now is not a killer that we see all that often. Listen, Jaw on killer is a stunner, no doubt. If he keeps 4King, he's like farming cloud essentially, and and the way that we've seen him on Dredge in particular is so impressive. A 4K4 followed up by a 4K2 here in the grand finals, showing not only that even though he's not as experienced as Wispy or Angels, he can perform and not let this pressure of the grand final situation get to him is really impressive. I think we're all going to have to start paying a lot more attention to Jaw's killer going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's an important thing to mention, especially since Jaw's killer performance has really seen some ascension. So let's go ahead and pass it back over to the casters here with Volkas and Andrew. And I want to commend you for that. Really nice freestyle there, by the way, Rich. So let's go and pass it over. Please take it away, Volkas and Andrew.
We are in on the Midwich Elementary for what may be the final game of Season 11 Dead by Daylight League in this grand final. Zaka needs at least a 4K2 to stay alive, a 4K3 to win and actually put their team back in the running. We've started our first chase here on Wispy. Upstairs in the library. Couple of pallets here. Probably gonna go around the back here. Not quite sure what's going on there. We've got the Dragon's Grip again. I was gonna say, I think we saw him run downstairs. We did, in fact. We're gonna need to see a very quick start here from Zaka. That great play there. Love that hit there on Wispy. And this is exactly what I wanted to see, Volkas. I wanted to see hit, move, chase, run, kick, go. And that's what we're seeing here, Volkas.
No, absolutely. You're 100% right. We need to 4K3 or 4K2 at the absolute worst case scenario. So just one down immediately is not going to be good enough. We need to put Dragon's Eruption. We have the combo. We gotta use it and make use of the time that the Corrupt Intervention is giving us right now. We see a lot of these lockers have been locked. A telltale sign that survivors have been here. So looking around for anybody that could be potentially stealthing out. I'm going to put another Eruption. Wispy has not been reset in the meantime. Never mind. Wispy has been reset in the meantime and now is free to roam around the map and continue being his good old self. Now, Zaka is back in a situation where he needs to get his injuries. Was not able to get any for the couple of teleports around that he just did. So maybe in a slightly uncomfortable spot right now. There's this hospital gold pallet to play around with. We haven't dropped it immediately though. Node believes he can get another loop. Zaka with a double back. Is he going to be able to confirm a hit here? I supremely doubt it. No, Node is going to make it to this pallet with no real issues. We just got to be careful not to get stunned. The stun hitboxes the last couple patches have been crazy and Zaka expected. Taking the gold pallet away and now going to be teleporting back to find, I believe this is no, never mind. We find Wispy again. Now we need to really get the ball rolling. I think it's about time we try to get it down. Zaka, oh, the pallet standoff there is so well played by Wispy. He's able to get away with that for a moment in a 50-50 situation. Zaka doesn't fall for it. Auto-aim! Auto-aim takes away a critical injury, and now Wispy can take an insane hit to this gold pallet. That is tragic. That means so much more. I know it looks on the surface like it only just wasted a couple of seconds, but I promise you, Zaka could not have committed after that simply because Wispy took such a good hit from being able to reorient there. So, Andrew, we need to get the ball rolling once again, and we need to do it hard.
One generator has already popped. We've had a couple of injuries. There's a third injury now. No downs whatsoever so far. Nightfall is running, so we have all the information and basically no cooldown on our power. We get the killer instinct. We're going to go up the stairs, up to the top floor here, continue our chase onto Jaw. Tries to cut off, but Jaw picks up on that and does a 180, reverses and goes around. But we're going to drop down to the bottom, and that is going to give us, again, Nightfall. So powerful, gives us such fast teleports. This tile here is pretty strong. If they manage to throw both of these pallets safely and continue around, we are going to get the vault here. Again, we've left our remnant in the hallway. We dropped it. I don't know if that was a little bit of a mind game or not. A second generator pop during this chase. This is looking very bad for Team Elysium. We need it down. We need it yesterday. We are currently at the win condition. We have not yet got it down. Good mind game there on this door pallet. We're going to get that pickup. Boil over might stop us from seeing our hooks, but there is no pain res in play, so we won't need to find a specific hook. We do find a hook here. We're going to pop it on. Pop Jaw on the hook. We can still see, again, Wispy just about to finish this generator. If we finish this generator, we have done bare minimum tie. Actually, we are not on this gen. This is a different generator. This was Note's gen. Wispy's cranking a different generator. The unhook comes in on Jaw, and I think the survivors of X9 have just put too much pressure, too little too late at this point. Zaka is going to break this pallet. There's just not enough pressure around the map right now. This generator has 75% Volkas, and I don't know. I think we're looking at that, and we get the reset on Jaw. We only have one injury around. We're not able to get a fast enough start. The survivors just too aware of their surroundings. At the beginning of last match, Zaka on Bill, playing Bill, took that unfortunate hit trying to predict a teleport, and you know, the survivors of X9 just weren't making the same mistakes.
Yeah, I think our survivors here have done an absolute great job. The RNG was definitely beneficial for Ja to get that room. Zaka wasted a lot of distance putting down that remnant. But honestly, even before that, we had a lot of problems right now. and we need to somehow stop another generator from popping. Zaka knows that Wispy, he's back from the Genki Dragon's Grip earlier. There's really not much to be found anymore. Even if we get this, even if Zhao was to magically disconnect and die right now, then we would still be in a world of trouble. Gotta kick that as well, apply that eruption, but we have only one injury, and it is on Wispy. We can never really leave for too much, and Zha is just so on point. As a Dredge player himself, he knows exactly what Zaka might want to be going for here, and he's not gonna let it happen. Desperation swing from Zaka. I fear we are too far gone to allow. We're able to get a hit through this pallet, but I fear that even if we are to get this down immediately, then there is just simply too much going on, and the fact that Wispy is not stacking that gen means that Note and Angels are both on a different generator that might be getting stacked, or just anything. If we can stop this, we need to get it down onto Jar right now to avoid this generator popping from Wispy. Are we going to be able to do so? We are. One last chance. We need to go on a slugging spree, but no, there's two gens with incredibly high progress. And ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased and sorrowful to announce to you that X9 is the winner of DBD League Season 11, bringing it home back to America, back to NA for the first time since 2018. Elysium was not able to win the back-to-back DBD leagues, unfortunately for them, but X9, the superior team, they put out an insane performance today. Zaka not able to keep up on this Dredge set. Too much coordination, too good in chase. Congratulations to X9.
Zaka nursing the wounds in the in the basement, knowing that they played a great game, but not good enough to take down X9. What a remarkable story this entire tournament. X9 getting absolutely swept. Not just swept. I think we set we might have set a record for the fastest 4K in the world on Jason last week. But nonetheless, Elysium goes down to X9. Technically 4-1 in this best of 7. Well played to all of our competitors. Congratulations to X9. Well played, Elysium, taking silver. That is going to be all for the caster today. We're going to be kicking it back to the analysts. But before we go, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this momentous occasion. This fantastic. The entire season was so fire. Once again, shout out to all 8 of our teams in the Iridescent division for being so phenomenal, having such great competition between so many different teams. It's so great to see if you're a fan of competitive Dead by Daylight. I am Outcast Andrew Volkins. Why don't you say the last few words before you kick it over to Rob, and they can take us through the end of the analysis.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And yes, very great pleasure to be here in DBD League from the Grand Finals. My absolute honor to be able to cast this for everybody sitting at home. What an iridescent division we have watched. This was the most unpredictable Comp DBD has ever been. From sweeps to left and right and center, from nobody knowing what's really going to happen, specifically with Elysium going from roster changes to not be considered good enough to then sweeping everybody and then going out with one last bang, trying their best in DBD League Grand Finals. This has been Volkus. I want to say a big thank you to everybody watching at home, to our teams, to the staff here at DBD League for making everything happen and everybody happy. Make sure you keep supporting Comp DBD wherever you can. Support DBD League, support your local comp content creators. Let's continue pushing this game forward for these amazing moments that it gives us. And that is me signing out. Rob, take it away.
All right. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Volkos and Outcast Andrew casting your grand finals. And let me go and pass it over to our analysts, that being Arya, Rakia, and Richie Witchy, so we can talk about the closing thoughts of the grand finals between X9 and Elysium. X9 taking the win. Please take it away, Rich. Let's have your thoughts first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a crazy narrative we've got here, Rob, and plenty of amazing points in each of these sets. Truly, though, the story to tell is that X9 kind of dominated in this tournament, and specifically the latter portion of it, because they were certainly not outperforming everybody. They were the leader after our round robin portion, but Elysium kind of shut them down in that winners semifinal, and yeah, they truly came back and made it very clear that NA is kind of here to compete. Despite it being 8 years since they've held a major DBD League title, this team is showing that finally showing, I should say, that they are competing with these top level teams, and certainly able to close a grand final. And they are just up there with the absolute gods of comp DBD, Invictus, Elysium. Even Praxis has won some grand finals, despite being a relatively recently named team, and now X9 right back up there.
Yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just back-to-back solid performances from X9. Elysium just short on the delivery of the X9 players, of course. But let me ask you, Arya, what are your thoughts on each, pretty much each individual set? Like, how did X9 perform that really led them to the win here?
I mean, a lot of the difference, it felt like the consistency of X9's killer side for this grand finals was exactly where it needed to be. Angels has had a lot of ups and downs this season when it came to killer performance. There were occasions where I remember in their match against Umbrella where it looked like, or their first match against Umbrella, I should clarify, where it looked like, okay, Angels needs 4 stages on Singularity. This should be a win, but it wasn't. But then there are times like this where Angels just gave what looked like the strongest team in the league, or at least one of them, just the hardest of times on each set that he played. The amount, like, that Angels must have been locked in for this matchup is incredible. And I think that was honestly one of X9's biggest edges over this matchup, but that's not to not give credit to their serve side. Their serve side also played amazing throughout each and every set. I mean, the only real, I guess, major mistake they made was, of course, in the Oni replay when it came down to a 4K2. That was like the one, I guess, slip up that X9 had. Otherwise, their survivor side also came in clutch. But I just wanted to give the honors to Angels here because when we're talking about X9, we're usually talking about them having one of the best, if not the best, survivor roster when it comes to just putting up great results. So the fact that their killer side was more than able to match it this time around really just gave them that edge.
Absolutely. I think one thing that really helped them help their survivor side as well is the fact that X9 has completed an 856 survivor 3 out with unrestricted rules. And I think that's really honestly helped them out quite a bit. I mean, 856 games in a row of winning against killers is pretty impressive, honestly. But relating back to competitive DVD against a top tier team like Elysium, honestly, I've seen some pretty incredible things from X9 today, and Elysium really, really trying as hard as they can to pull forward. The mental must have had a huge resurgence in the Oni set for Elysium, but X9 just able to pull it back forward again. And man, I think that this was an excellent grand finals, a very good performance from both teams, but X9 just really ahead of the game here. Rich, anything else you wanted to say about maybe any set in particular or any major moment of today's grand finals that really kind of like left your jaw dropped in any fashion?
Truly, Rob, I thought that almost the likelihood after that Joker Oni set was that Elysium would take the entire match. I think, again, I said it before, I'll say it again, these teams are so momentum based that they easily could have brought it back entirely, and come back with 4 set victories straight after that set. But the fact that they weren't able to close and X9 finally pulled it out is really the story today, and I'm so glad they did. X9 is, X9 and Ascent sharing most of the roster of X9. They've really been on the cusp of taking several of our tournaments here at DBD League. The fact that they are finally able to close makes me so happy. But no, other than that, I appreciate everybody who's made DBD League happen in the background this entire season. Appreciate you, Rob, and you, Aria, for joining me here on the desk today, and our casters, Volkas and Andrew. So thank you to everybody, and I look forward to seeing X9 in our upcoming LAN.
Absolutely. And one last time from you, Arya, was there any major moment that stuck out to you during today's grand finals?
I mean, I have to say it. The Joker Oni set, of course. I mean, the staff chat was going crazy. We were hyped. It was such a great moment for Elysium to get a bit of momentum going. like Rich said, could have been a chance to get back in the game. Unfortunately not, but to be different, I'll also mention the Onryo set. I mean, the moment in the staff VC when we saw 3 people become condemned at the same time, and we were just like, unfortunate. But yeah, other than that, I think that's it for my thoughts on this grand final. Been great being on the analyst desk with you and Rich. Amazing job from our casters today, and I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you very much for that, Arya. Yeah, very well said, honestly. Lots of pretty insane moments today. I have to agree with you. I think the Onryo set was definitely quite insane with all the condemns and whatnot. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for us here on DBD League over here on the analyst desk. We had the casters outro themselves, talk a little bit about themselves. We had the analysts talk about today. And of course, I, myself, Metal Bro, aka Rob, I'm going to be signing out here soon. But first, before we go, a little bit of an outro for myself here and for DBD League. One thing to remember is that the DBD LAN is coming up here on Friday, August 14th, and it will be extended to Sunday, August 16th. We did just talk about the LAN here. So, of course, it's got to be mentioned, the dates, and then, of course, the location will be in Osnabrück, Germany. If you need a resurgence of that information, of course, it will be available in the Discord server, and you should absolutely join the Discord server as well to be included in part of the community, to have access to great information regarding competitive DBD here in DBD League, and of course to use the 1v1 ladder, which is a great asset for improving your chase. So you can find that by typing !Discord in our Twitch chat, and of course also our other socials as well, like X, which you can find by typing !Twitter, which you can find a lot of really good information, maybe some clips being shared from our live streams, of course. And the same will be over on YouTube, where our main matches are being uploaded as well. You can find that by typing !YouTube in our Twitch chat as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been DBD League with the grand finals. And of course, I have to thank our casters, Volkas and Andrew, for putting on an excellent performance here with the play-by-play casting of our sets between X9 and Elysium. Of course, I have to thank our analysts for breaking down each and every single hype moment between the matches, that being Arya, Rakia, and Richie Witchy. A fantastic job of breaking down the biggest moments of each set. And of course, I have to thank everyone in the background. We had a lot going on today behind the background here with Devin producing for us today. Of course, we had a lot of match officials in the background making sure to take care of the VCs of the teams, as well as the statistics in the background as well. Thank you very much for that. Frozen, Joe, Essie, Hannah, Morse, Petty, and of course the Twitch chat moderation as well. We have some lovely Twitch chat moderators. And of course, thank you to the teams as well for putting on a fantastic performance for us today. But last and not least, by any margin whatsoever, that would be you, ladies and gentlemen, back at home watching and enjoying the content with us, of course. So thank you for joining us during one of the most exceptional grand finals we have seen in quite some time, with X9 and North American team taking the first win of a major DBD League tournament in 8 years. So ladies and gentlemen, that will be all from us. Please take care and stay tuned. Goodbye.